Thank you for participating in our, it will be our last board meeting of the school year. We will be in recess for July and then resume in August. For those of you who have just joined us after closed session, welcome to this hybrid regular meeting of the Board of Trustees. I am Lisa Pelosi, Board President, and I would like to introduce my fellow trustees. Laura Simon, Laura is not with us this evening. Sean Mora, Jeannie Kerr, and Jean Marie Wolf. I would also like to introduce our district staff, Superintendent Ruben Aurelio, Assistant Superintendent Mr. Christopher Heller, Chief Business Official Dr. Kay Vang, our Director of Educational Services, Miss Veronica Miranda, Executive Assistant to the Superintendent and Governing Board, Miss Erica Madrigal, and Director of Technology in the back, Mr. Derek Machado. Excuse me. Additional site administrators are also joining us this evening. We have St. Helena High School Principal, Mr. Benjamin Cinto. Dr. Emery from St. Helena Elementary School is here, and Rebecca Rocha from St. Helena Primary School. We are delighted that you are viewing in person on Zoom or television channel 27 or our YouTube channel. A copy of this board meeting video will also be available at our website at www.sthelena.unified.org. In connection with items 4A and 4B, the board received information and provided staff with direction. If you now would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, item 6A are public comments for items that are not on the agenda this evening. There is a 3-minute limit on public comments. And if there is anybody present or watching us virtually that would like to make a public comment, now is the time to do so, please. Nothing? Okay. All right. We're going to move on to presentations, and item 7A is the introduction of our new Director of Educational Services. Mr. Heller, please.
Well, that was quick. Okay. Well, good evening. I would like to take a moment to introduce Araceli Romo Flores to the governing board. Araceli has a wealth of experience in instruction and serves in her current role as the Director of Ed Services for the Bellevue School District in Santa Rosa. She's been a site administrator and has also worked at the Sonoma County Office of Education. In addition, she has served the past 8 years as a trustee and is currently the board president of the Healdsburg Unified School District, where she resides. So we are very excited to add her to our administrative team and welcome her to the microphone to say a few words.
Good evening. I just want to thank you for this opportunity. I'm really excited to join the St. Helena team and looking forward to tomorrow and getting to know more of the team. And thank you for welcoming me.
Well, we welcome you. Thank you so much. Thanks for being here this evening. Okay, and then our next item is the recognition of the St. Helena Primary School as a professional learning community model school. Mr. Heller, please.
Yes, on May 29th, Solution Tree came out to recognize the St. Helena Primary School as a model PLC, a professional learning community. And only 687 schools in the nation have received this honor, and the primary school will be 688. And we wanted to take this opportunity to recognize the work that has been done throughout the last 8 years. It started in 2016 through the CAPS network, the Professional Growth Network that started at UC Davis for teachers and administrators to learn this program. And so it's been something that the staff has really persevered through COVID to maintain and continue their work. And really in the last couple of years under Rebecca Rocha's leadership has strengthened and provided the opportunity for staff to really analyze their data and put in systems in place to really ensure students have an opportunity for greater success in the early grades. So with that, I'd like to recognize Principal Rocha and have her come to the mic and say a few words on behalf of the school.
It was a rigorous process to submit our application and go through the the work with the Solution Tree. It was about a 14-page document where we had to answer different questions about the systems that we have in place and the way that our teams collaborate. And we had to provide 3 years worth of data that showed that our students have been making academic gains. So it's kind of like when a teacher says, you know, you're smarter than you think you are. It was last school year that Dr. Luis Cruz, who's part of the CAPS network, and he was our facilitator last year and came to a few of the sessions this year, said your school should really consider applying for this. And so I don't think, had he not said that to us, I don't know that we would have thought that we were of that caliber. But after he suggested that, we took it upon ourselves to, we worked together on the application. We used our staff development day in October, and the staff looked at those questions on the application, and I said, just put bullet points. I'll turn it into the narrative, but just anything you can think of that answers these questions. And so even just filling out the application was a collaborative process. So we did have it returned 3 times to finesse our wording of things, but just could not be more proud of the school and all of the staff, the teachers and certificated staff, classified staff, excuse me. So thank you for this recognition.
Bravo. Thank you so much for being here, and congratulations. Okay, item 8 is the consent agenda. The consent agenda contains routine items judged as appropriate to be acted upon in one motion. If a board member requests that an item be removed from the consent agenda, the item will be considered under discussion and action items. Is there anyone present who wishes to comment on this agenda item? Okay, thank you. And there were no written comments submitted as well. Trustees, any questions or requests to pull anything from the consent agenda?
President Pelosi, I would like to request to pull item M, approve surplus property.
Okay,
Please. Thank
great.
you.
We will do that. Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda with the exception of item M as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr? Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carried. Okay, so item 8M is surplus property for June of 2024. And Trustee Kerr, in particular, you want to talk about all of the books there that you have a specific question?
No, that's exactly it.
Okay.
I'm just, my question, I was a little bit, I wasn't shocked, that's not the right word. I was surprised to see how many books were being surplused. And specifically the Spanish books. So I'm just kind of looking for a little bit of direction as far as where we're going with why they were surplused and the direction of purchasing.
Be happy to provide that.
Okay, thank you.
So our district has not been a part of the Napa County Library Consortium for a number of years, and through a current memorandum of understanding, we are rejoining that, which will provide guidance and oversight from a credentialed certificated librarian on ways we can update and remodel our libraries. And one of the things that we've discovered through our library media specialists is we have a number of books that are either outdated or in disrepair that need to be surplused, and Kay has actually increased the budget for each of the sites to purchase new books that are more culturally relevant and more updated, to not only get with the times, so to speak, but also be in alignment with recommendations from our credentialed librarian from Napa Valley Unified. So I would look at it more as, yes, there's a lot of books that are being surplused, but we haven't done this in a number of years, and there's many of those books that do need to be removed from the shelves, and we need to update with newer materials.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Great. Anybody else? Questions on that? No? Trustee Mora, you're fine? Okay, great. Okay, so is there a motion to approve item 8M on the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve item M on the consent.
Thank you. Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Okay, so now we're going on to item 9A, which is an update on the Napa Valley Vine Trail. Mr. Aurelio, please.
Good evening, everyone. Make sure this is on. So this evening, we've asked Sean Casey White, the Executive Director of Napa Valley Vine Trail, to provide the board with an update on the project. There is an action item associated with this, which is a request for a letter of support of the Vine Trail as they seek additional funding. Just a little background, I would say a previous configuration of the board did provide a letter of support, I want to say in 2018, it was back that far, when the Vine Trail was initially presented to the board. But since that time, the board has changed over with 3 new members. I know Trustee Simon's not here in the meeting, but 2 of you were not sitting at the dais at that time. So I think it's a great opportunity for them to come back, provide a presentation, and then the request for a letter of support.
Okay, thank you.
So with that, I'll call Sean forward.
Thank you for inviting me, and I'm open to questions if you want. We have a few slides, but basically the exhibits that we have are just the letters that we're asking for support. So I'll start there, and then I'll share a little bit more as far as the direction of the Vine Trail. So the letters of support is for the California State Active Transportation Program grant. That is the major grant that we're able to apply for every 2 years for construction of the Vine Trail. And the support of the school district is important for multiple reasons. But one, it's because it completes part of the city's general plan. It also completes the walkability studies from the Bicycle Coalition. It also directs for the Safe Routes to School initiative. And so in doing that, we would love to have your support. In addition to that, they request a certain form that is just identifying the demographics and the administration and a few basic questions about the school that are just signed either by the board president or the superintendent. And that goes into the packet for the ATP application that we'll be filing tomorrow, hopefully. So it's due on Monday. The other motion that's been on the table, as Ruben mentioned, from 2028 was the non-binding agreement that the board took to approve an alignment, very rough alignment, through the properties of the St. Helena High School and the co-op. And since then, as Ruben said, the board has changed, and so this is a non-binding agreement. And what I've been talking with administrators, and what we are interested in is coming back to this board in August when we have 65% of the civil engineering. We have the funding now to keep going. So what we didn't have in 2018 or 2022 was real survey and real data. We discovered that you have 3 properties in the co-op, not 2, and then you have 1 in the high school. We have looked at that. We're completing a complete environmental improvement plan, which is a much longer process than what we would normally do. And this is to ensure that we have covered every single base of the environmental, cultural, and agriculture and archaeological data that is needed for a complete review. We'll have all of that information for the EIR in late July, and you'll be hearing about a community meeting in St. Helena and in Yountville at that time for the EIR. And then the 3rd week of August through the 23rd, we'll be presenting the 65% engineering plans to the community in a sequence of 5 meetings in St. Helena, Rutherford, Yountville, and 2 by Zoom. And we would like to come back to the school board during that time to share with you the plans and what they look like, and answer the specific questions of what the alignment looks like and what the engineers have determined are the proper treatments around the school areas, and what impact or how we've addressed the questions that we've been hearing from the community and from the administrators. And I can answer more questions, but I just wanted to leave it there first, just so we stay focused on the agenda topic, which is nothing binding, but just the agreement that you're supportive of the Vine Trail, you're supportive, and you'll sign also on the demographic information on the schools that's provided to Lisa, I think has those documents.
Let me first ask if there's anyone who would like to publicly comment on this agenda item. Trustees, you do know we received 3 written public comments. Everybody's had an opportunity to read those. Okay. Anybody online? Okay. And no one present wants to make public comment on this agenda item. Okay. Okay. So with that, we now have questions that we can deliver, or conversation, clarification, etc. So.
I have a couple questions since I was not here for, I guess, the 2018 when this first came up. I guess my question is, how is this different? How is this letter different than what we already approved in 2018?
There's nothing different about it. There's nothing different at all. What's different is just that there's been a sentiment that because there's new administration, that there's been a request that we should have this body look at it and review it. And so while we're in this process, we want to make sure that you're engaged and informed, but there is no difference to what was already approved.
Okay. And what happens if the board does not approve a new letter tonight?
We probably won't get $25 million from the state for construction of the Vine Trail. The school district letter of support and the identification of the schools is a critical piece, because we talk about safe routes to school. We talk about first and last routes of people taking public transportation and being able to get to the high school or get to the elementary school. The entire Bike Boulevard plan that the city approved in 2022 was based on the general plan connecting through a safe way for the elementary school and for the middle schools, and to impact the Vision Zero plan to improve the intersection of Adams and Main Street, as well as control the signal lights at Mitchell. And those plans now, with the approval of Vision Zero, are a major part of the county's effort to improve safety. So those are key elements that this project will cover in our budget as we build the Vine Trail and improve the pedestrian and bike safety.
So if this letter is no different than 2018,
No. Right.
then why would you not get funding?
Because we wouldn't have anything to submit. I mean, we could submit the old document, but it would seem disingenuous if I submitted an old document. So I think it would be more appropriate to have fresh signatures. I honestly, when I
I'm
first
just
presented
trying to-
this to
yeah.
Ruben, I thought it was just getting his signature on the school data, and he thought, and Lisa thought, that we should take this in front of the board. So I'm following their action.
Okay, thank you.
Am I correct that there was like 46 signatures to gather on the most recent letter of support? Was that what you were?
Oh, you mean the landowners?
Yeah.
47, yes.
47. How many do you have as of
As
today?
of right now, Constellation just signed yesterday, so we have 96% of the square footage required to build the Vine Trail. We're waiting for 2 homeowners to consider signing,
Okay.
and the school district, so that's part of it. But you'll see that even though there's a lot of small homeowners, the majority of the right-of-way that we're in, 63% is the wine train right-of-way.
Okay.
And then the rest of it is either the city of St. Helena or the county, but mostly 40% is Caltrans.
Okay.
And then the remaining, I'm probably doing my math wrong, but the remaining 6% is the individual landowners.
Okay.
Because generally, in the case of the co-op, we're talking about 2 to 4 feet in your on your property. And in the high school, based on the plan that the city, or excuse me, the school board in 2018 wanted, they suggested that the trail go through the parking lot. And so that we would avoid cutting down or damaging any of the heritage oak trees that are in front of the high school. And so they've designed that now to angle the parking spaces, not lose any parking except for maybe two as you make the corner. They would recommend having it as a one-way entrance and exit, and then the trail would come through right on the edge of where the oak trees are now. And so in that case, the easement is about 10 feet and then maybe 14 on a corner.
Okay. Dr. Vang, have you walked the property since you've been with us? The co-op property, and to see?
I have.
Okay.
I have. And I've actually even spoken with Maureen when I was there.
Okay. And has our insurance weighed? This is something that we did not talk in prior conversations, whether it was 2018 or 2022 and now in 2024. I was looking through all my notes and watching meetings, and we never really discussed what our insurance involvement and what they thought about this going so close to a school.
Yes, and I did pose this to our property insurance carrier, and they do have some questions, some concerns. So that is something that we will need to discuss further.
If I can I'm sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, so has, because the Vine Trail is it's happening. It's a living, breathing project, if you will. So have you set up an opportunity for them to come out and walk the property with you?
No, not yet, because they
Okay.
were requesting additional information.
Okay.
And so I need to pass all this forward to them
Okay.
first, and then I can definitely set up an appointment with them to come out, but that is on my to-do list, just because they didn't have any knowledge of this either, and so they definitely have some questions and concerns.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
If you wouldn't mind, I'll just comment.
Okay.
And I will send you the approved language of the easement with the county. The agreement that we as the coalition, we facilitate the landowner conversations. It's easier when a private nonprofit can talk with this rather than going through the process, and then the easements are given to the county. So the agreement is with you and the county, number one. But when you donate an easement for recreational purposes, you're indemnified by the state. And so everything is covered by the state. In addition, the county will cover you twice over. One is, I said indemnification from the state. You're covered by the state, period. You're indemnified first by the county, and then they have a second policy that they will put the school district on related to the Vine Trail that will protect you if you were, by any reason, someone was to litigate against you, they would cover fees and everything else. So everything is covered, and it's detailed in the easement agreement. And we've worked very hard on that with the construction between Calistoga and St. Helena. So I feel very confident in what we've accomplished. This, just to show you how complicated it is, when we did this, we had to ensure that farming activities were also covered, which is a very unique situation. So it's not just basic trail, items. It could be, other flying rocks or other kinds of impact. And it's very, very tight insurance.
Right, and I do recall Chuck mentioning that when we were on our Zoom, and I believe I had asked at the time for a copy of the indemnification letter. I've yet to receive that.
Okay.
So if I can also get a copy of that to forward to our insurance carrier, that would be awesome as well.
Okay.
Thank you.
I can do that.
Okay, great. Trustees, questions? Other additional questions?
I think if I'm following, the letter is kind of a conditional improvement. I mean, what if the plan comes back and we don't feel that's beneficial to our young students or our families at the co-op. So we haven't really committed. I'm gotten a little lost in here.
It's that you're committed to the point that we're at right now at 35%, and that you're willing to continue the conversation with the Vine Trail Coalition and Napa County to progress with the trail planning and engineering. We will, even if you were to sign an easement today, that would be held. It cannot be filed until all 47 landowners sign an easement, number one. Number two, it can't be filed until we pass CEQA and NEPA environmentals. Those won't even be approved until late summer of 2025. So what this letter is saying is you're going to work with us through that process, and that we are going to work with you to make sure that everything that you desire is covered. You know, I'll give you an example. In meeting with Maureen on several occasions at the co-op, you know, we learned that the fence and the privacy of the co-op was important. We learned that the sign that's for the co-op was important. And then there were concerns about the driveway and how the cars would enter. The plans that you have in your hands right now, the 35% plans, show that the Vine Trail alignment is 10 feet away from the fence line. Then it purposely narrows down to 8 feet so that we bypass the crossing arm of the railroad, and we span over the ditch that's there. And then the trail goes straight across Neobalm Lane, and will span over the culvert on that end. They will have truncated domes and stop signs for people on Neobalm that are going to be going back and forth. We will move the sign to any location that the co-op or the school district would like. We would even discuss and design in the 65% plans a fence between the trail and the school if that was required. We would also consider fencing between the other properties, whether that's Morrisoli and the school, what have you. And then in addition, they're already considering the tree treatments. And so if anyone is familiar with the first mile in St. Helena, you'll notice pavers were used. Pavers were used to protect the elm trees and the tunnel in that area. And so that was a very sensitive area, and that's been successful so far. You know, we're not opening until August 16th, but you know, that's a treatment. There's a second treatment that the engineers are also looking at and having their environmentalists look at, which is a boardwalk. And a boardwalk is an additional safety that elevates the users of the Vine Trail completely away from the soil or having any contact with the roots. So we'll know more as we complete the environmental report at the end of the month, and that will do the final direction for the 65% engineering.
And I'm curious about usage. I can't see our students riding from Rutherford to St. Helena to school. I mean, how has the Vine Trail determined, is this people coming from here, there, or is it really going to be used by school children? How does that process work?
We participate in Bike to School Day in Napa, the city of Napa, and we and the county. We stage it at Oak Knoll Shelter, if you're familiar with Oak Knoll off of Darms Lane. And there are young people that bike from Yountville to go to the high school. And there are others that go to some of the other schools. So it's used. It was 2 years ago, but when I met with the St. Helena High School leadership team, I met a young man from Calistoga who does ride his bike on Highway 29. And he couldn't wait till the Calistoga connection opened. So that's 8 miles. Rutherford is less than 3 miles. And the other thing that the trail tries to do is we have comfort stations. So we have bike repair stations, we have water, we have shelter and shade and trash cans and dog waste every 3 miles. And so the Harvest Inn has already agreed to sponsor and build the shelter on their property to be the first stop in the city of St. Helena, and your next stop is at Freemark Abbey. And then we're working on the next location in Rutherford. So it's intended to be a comfortable place, whether you walk or bike. And we have another philosophy that's called first and last mile on the Vine Trail, which is that students, maybe not the high school students from St. Helena, but some students might need to take a bus and take the Vine. And if the Vine doesn't drop them off right by school, but they have a bike or they're willing to walk, and more people, studies show that more people are willing to do that if it's at least less than a mile, or even better, a quarter mile. And so the Vine Trail is attempting to be a spine for Napa Valley that allow people to take different transportation and get to locations that they wouldn't have otherwise. I was surprised to learn 2 years ago that Up Valley Family Centers has 2,000 of their clients that do not have automobile in their household. And so these are individuals that are going to our schools that don't have the ability to drive to get to locations. We hope that the Vine Trail becomes a conduit or a corridor for them to access schools, libraries, grocery shopping, any facility.
Thank you. I have another question. On the fencing issue, is that something that if there's fencing a requirement, which it sounds like there would need to be around the co-op, is that covered by the Vine Trail? Okay.
Yes, including the parking treatment. The entire parking lot of the high school would be covered by the Vine Trail.
Okay, thank you. Trustees, any other questions?
Well, in addition to that, so then has the Vine Trail given a report, given an agreement to the co-op that these are the things that we'll take care of between now and whenever the date is?
I've exchanged emails with Maureen, and we've met on site about 4 times, and she's met with our engineer, and we had surveyors out on the property about 4 weeks ago when I was there with her. And the only other people that have been there recently we take every 2 months the Pacific Union to look at the railroad conditions, because we're on the railroad right of way so much. So they've been out, and I think they met with Maureen just in passing, but I responded to some of her questions, and all of that is being considered, and that's part of the dialogue. Getting to 65% is not 100%, and so we put those down on paper, and then we work together to make sure that all of those conditions are considered, and then those agreements are entered into the easement, and so we document it in the formal easement.
Mm-hmm. Well, I guess why I'm asking that is because you're asking us for an agreement, but you're not. But there has not been any kind of written agreement to the property owner or to us, since we're the property owners of the co-op, of the work that you intend to do in order to move forward with this. So I'm wondering about that.
Everything that I just mentioned about the parking alignment and the culvert and the ditch and the narrowing of the path is all indicated in the 35% drawings that you have in front of you. I'm trying to be as candid with you as possible. We're not in an easement agreement, so I haven't formally written down any of those desires, and I don't have enough information from even a high school to know what those are. So I can only present the alignment design that we have right now. And I'm not asking the board to approve an easement. I'm asking the board to approve an indication that you're willing to work with us as we progress between 65% and the other engineering studies, so that we can find a common ground and a positive alignment. And I can tell you about Plan B if you want to hear it.
That would be awesome. Thank you.
Plan B would be on the east side of the railroad. What that means is that K-rail would span the entire length of the property. That's 41 inches of white stone and 2 ends of crash barriers, yellow crash barriers. Because the pedestrians and the cyclists have to be separated from the traffic. one of the needs that we've had in St. Helena for so long is widening the sidewalks so that people can connect and walk safely from, whether it's Llewellyn or whether it's all the way to Whitehall Lane. But the plans are, and you've got a couple of options in front of you, is to widen the sidewalk to make it safe for people to walk up and down Main Street. But if the school wouldn't approve, we would be on the east side of the railroad, or we would be on the highway in front of the high school, which would mean that we would have to put this K-rail and yellow crash barriers through that length of the school. And while those are safer for the people on the trail, it does make it difficult for visibility, turning into the school, and other situations. I think that in the co-op, it actually would take away the acceleration and the deceleration lanes coming into Neobom Lane. So it's not a desirable thing, and I think you would have more problems with Plan B than you would with the current alignment. Which is why I think they looked at that and approved it in 2018.
And then in 2022, I'm looking at what we have attached to the agenda tonight, Sean. In 2022, there was a letter. And so I guess, again, what my confusion is tonight is that you're asking for a letter of support, but is it the trail easement non-binding letter of intent?
No, that's just one that I brought with me.
Okay,
If you have another letter that you've already
Right.
authored that is just on letterhead,
Right.
that's fine.
Well, because I was reviewing the 2018, 2022, and now like the 2024, and they are a little bit different. They're not exactly the same, like the sample letter of what we provided in 2018. One was about financial support, one was about supporting the easements and just supporting the project in general. So I think that is why we asked you to come back, because there is, not only is the makeup a little different of the board, but I think we've all learned a lot since 2018 as well.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we're just trying to, it feels a little bit like the cart before the horse. I'll be just speaking for myself. That's what and I know that the support was given in 2018. I'm not denying that that's happened, but I just feel like now here we are, and I feel like I have more questions than answers. I'm concerned about the insurance aspect of it. That's great that there's another protective layer, but I do think we need to vet that completely on our end as well. And we don't have that information as well. I feel...
And just to let you know, there are 15 landowners between Calistoga and St. Helena that have signed the same easement that we would be putting in front of the school board to consider. And that includes C. Mondavi and Sons, that includes the entire operation of Trincaro, that includes Jackson Family Wines, it includes smaller vineyards like Jones and Ballantyne and Turley. It also includes Treasury with Sterling. I mean, these are large operations that support. We spent 2 years negotiating this easement and making sure that these policies and the insurance were as impeccable as they could be. And so that when the county adopted this easement agreement, I think that the county supervisors, in their due diligence, this was in 2021, approved it for those reasons. But you have to do it too. You have to be comfortable with it. So,
Right.
But I'll be happy to share with you the full language, and so that you can look at that and vet that out yourself. And if you want to talk to any of the landowners that have signed one of the easements, I think that might be good as well.
Right. And I'm looking back because I know that we had some email exchanges dating back to April. And I remember, and I'm reading that it was surprising to learn about the 3 parcels, that we didn't realize that. But it was still kind of like, it was still kind of cloudy in just the 3 parcels surrounding the co-op area. So I think as much as like my due diligence in reading and trying to understand and look at this, I just, for me personally, a vote of support with 35%, of plans being done just seems irresponsible. And for me, that's what I'm saying for me at this point. I think if August, we've got 65 more, going to have 65% of the civil engineering plans to be done. I think we'll have an opportunity by then that the insurance will have been out. We can, make sure that all 5 board members understand the 3 parcels. We feel that Maureen Kelly from the co-op has, within the conversation, that her questions have been answered and concerns and have been walked by our district personnel. That's something that has to be done. And it doesn't sound like we've had the opportunity to do that.
And just to be fair, we did walk the property with a couple of the parents and with the superintendent early in the fall last year. We've walked the property at the middle school. We've walked the property
Right.
not with Ruben, but so we have been engaged. We haven't engaged the board since 2022, but we have been working with the schools, through all of those iterations.
Right.
And again, we're not asking you to approve even the easement agreement. All we're asking you to do tonight is to say that you're willing to work with us and that you see the benefit of safe routes to school. You see the benefit for the city of St. Helena to have a connected bike boulevard that will be a safe place for kids to ride their bike, that you want to improve the connection and crossing at Adams and Main, and that you want to create some sidewalk that is connected up and down through the city that makes it safer and separated from traffic. And you don't have to sign any of the paperwork. It's not what we're asking. We're asking for a letter that says, we support the Vine Trail in its mission to create the alternative transportation corridor. We see the possibilities in Vision Zero. You can say whatever you want about the trail, and then sign the required documents, which is just the demographic information of the schools. And it's all you're doing is verifying that these schools are within the project limits. And you're saying, yes, these are the 5 public schools that are within the limit. We'd be asking that of you whether or not we needed an easement, because that's a requirement of the grant. We only get 2 years to apply for this. This grant is 47 pages. I've been probably writing it for 24 hours for the last 2 days, so it's 48 hours. It's extremely important to the Napa County community, and the connectivity to schools and the connectivity to St. Helena is an important piece. It's a critical piece of this proposal, and we need your support.
And one of the first questions that was asked was the lack of one institute, us. So we would really be burdened with you losing $25 million if we didn't give you our voice of support.
Yes.
Wow.
I know.
That doesn't seem
we didn't
right.
know that was.
I mean, that just seems so extreme when we're just one small part of the Vine Trail.
But when the state government is looking in its priorities for active transportation, their focus areas are children, the disabled, economic priority communities and housing projects. And so, because they see the need for people that do not have cars to have a safe way to travel up and down and connect with a city. We have people that live in farm workers housing, for example, that need to get to Safeway. Now they can, because there's a trail that they can walk from the housing into town. They can take advantage of the Ole Health Clinic or Up Valley Family Centers. So trails are important connections in communities. And this was a vision from 2008 that the community, the vintners, the grape growers, the land trust, all came together and said, we need to build an alternative transportation corridor through the valley. And so, this is the last major section of the trail. And in the scheme of what the state looks at, schools and the connections to schools are critical.
Sorry,
It's
so
a very important constituency, students and young people.
When is this grant paperwork due?
Monday.
Okay. And
Okay.
was there a letter from 2022? Now I'm even more confused. Sorry.
Well, I'm just looking through like other,
There's no terms changing. It's just student population.
if it's the same letter, then, I mean, there's one that's signed from 2018. We're not obligated to sign another one for 2024. We've done it. We did it in 2018. So, I
They
mean,
need demographic information.
right.
Can we do something with additional verbiage? It's like, yes, we're in support of the Vine Trail. However, we have many concerns that before we can fully support that we need to address. And I think it's great, all the big, Mandavi and everybody supporting it. I think in our heart, we have 1,500 students we have to look out for. And while wineries are making sure their people are safe, we want to make sure everything's buttoned up for our little 2-year-olds up to our 18-year-olds. So I think it'd have to, for me to support, I would need some kind of little verbiage that says, we have certain things that must be met, or something to that effect.
What we would have to do for the grant is we would still ask for your support for the demographics of the schools. I would ask the engineers in the next 4 days to rechange the plans and have it on the highway. But that means that what I just described with K-rails and crash barriers and all of that would be in front of the schools. That's the alternative. And I don't want that to be the alternative. I believe that having pathways for children is the best. I see them. I sat out in 2022, I sat out on the bench on the corner of Adams and Oak, and I see the kids on their bikes flying through the crossing from RLS. And, I jokingly thought they were going to the library when they were actually going to get ice cream. But, this gives them the opportunity to be protected, that will guide cars. It lowers the speed rate on Oak Avenue. It reduces the volume of traffic that's on Oak, eliminates the ability for more large vehicles. And as I said, this has been in this city plan for years. Right. And so that is a major part of that. Vision Zero talks about the expansion of the sidewalks in St. Helena and the intersection at Adams as a number 9 in their projects for Vision Zero to protect and reduce collisions with vehicles and pedestrians. And that's what the Vine Trail is trying to do for the city.
So let me ask a question. So if we give a letter of support with a condition that, we have certain things that need to be met, you get the grant, and 6 months, the plan comes out and we go, we can't support this, we don't feel this is right for our school, would you lose the grant?
No, we would just go to Plan B and put the K-rails and the crash barriers in front of the schools. The trail is still, either way, it's going to come into the city one way or the other. We just want it to be aesthetically pleasing. We want the egress and the ingress into your school to be safe and easy for your families and for your students. And we want to connect schools that they have a safe place to travel. I've read the walkability studies by the Bicycle Coalition. Students in the high school want more parking for bicycles. They've asked for different things. The improvement recommendations from those walkability studies, many of them are addressed with the Vine Trail. And so, I don't need to convince you today. That's not my intention. I'm passionate about this project, obviously. And if you would like to write a letter that says we support the Vine Trail, we are continuing to work with them through the engineering process. And, we look forward, we believe in safe routes to school and the Vision Zero project, and we'll continue to work with them as we better understand the project. That would be lovely.
And I think for me, I'm going to be very candid. I'm feeling a little blindsided by being told tonight on a Thursday when the application is due on Monday that if you don't get the support of the 5 people sitting here, you're going to lose $25 million. That's nowhere in any of the communication that's been sent to us. And so now I feel like you're kind of pushing up against a wall here that if we don't sign it, we're going to be responsible for you losing your funding. That doesn't seem to be a very fair collaboration to me, in my opinion. And maybe I'm misreading it, so correct me if I'm wrong, but that's how, I mean.
When I submitted the request in April, before the April board meeting, we obviously missed the agenda and I couldn't come to the board meeting, you couldn't put me on the agenda for me to attend. And so that would have given us a lot more time. Number 2, honestly, I thought that a support letter and signing the demographic information was not a political action. It is as simple as I just described it. It's a letter that says we support the Vine Trail in principle, we support active transportation, we support safe routes to school, we support Vision Zero and reducing collisions between pedestrians and cyclists.
Okay.
That's it. That's all we need. And signing off on the demographic information that says that these 5 schools exist in the project area. The superintendent, by the way, of Napa County has signed a letter of support. Napa Valley College has signed a letter of support for both campuses. So we're doing all of this together, and we just need your help because that one section does require us to identify and have verified. It's just a verification that these 5 schools exist in the district.
So just to give you the exact language on those, it says, to whom this may concern, the St. Helena Unified School District supports the application for grant funds for the construction of the Napa Valley Trail between Yountville to St. Helena to improve walking and biking for our students. That's the language.
Okay, thank you. Okay, trustees, anything else? At this,
I just, is there an insurance thing? I like the Vine Trail, but this is not about me, so I'm confused and conflicted when you're saying our insurance is concerned, and that's honestly just what makes me nervous. And I appreciate, but we all know that it's like
I'm just trying to
insurance
clarify.
talking to insurance.
I'm trying to
and-
clarify
Yeah.
that what Ruben just read
Yeah.
is the only thing that you're agreeing to.
Yeah.
That's all you're agreeing to. Nothing is happening with the insurance, nothing's happening with easements, you're not signing anything, there's nothing drafted, there's nothing that has to do with any legal action or anything with these documents. It is simply a verification that these schools are in the project area and that you support active transportation and safe routes to schools that the Vine Trail will provide for the community.
so we could just sign the verification documents and not do not a support letter.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, that's an option as well. Okay, just want to get clarification for everybody's, obviously, we can verify that we have 5 schools in our area, in the range that, on the map. I don't feel like that's a detriment because we're verifying that these properties exist where they exist. So if we're in agreement about that, we can agree, is there a motion? Well, actually, before I ask for that motion, we're going to have to decide whether or not, you want to approve the letter of support for the Napa County's application for ATP funds for the Napa Valley Vine Trail, Yountville to St. Helena Gap closure. So we can either agree to do both, we agree to do one and maybe not the letter of support, but I'll need a motion to see from that.
Lisa, if you wouldn't mind, I'll just, you can just sign the verification statements. But if you just let me for a second, Ruben, you did a great job for reading that phrase on those papers. This is what a support letter sounds like. The Napa County application for ATP funds, that's the subject line. We are writing this letter to support Napa County's application for $25 million in the funding to close the last significant gap of the Napa Valley Vine Trail. St. Helena School District is proud to be a part of the Napa Valley Vine Trail Coalition. Well, in this case, you're not a coalition member, but just a supporter. we take that out. Our organization has supported the Vine Trail on the existing project, and many of our members continue to enjoy the Vine Trail for recreation and commuting to work. And this is all dependent on, this is just what I wrote for general application. 12 miles of the Vine Trail south of Yountville have been built and have seen users of 400,000, doesn't say that there, but that's one of them. And the link is critical to reach 256 residents along the 47-mile path between Vallejo and Calistoga. And then this is where we talked about the increased usage since 2020 has been 46%, and shifted 35,000 cars off Highway 29. It doesn't say this, but it also includes that it's reduced 100 tons of greenhouse gas emissions in the valley. And then there's a few other points here that you can leave or you can take off. You can choose which ones you like. The school district strongly endorses the project and recommends that California Transportation Commission consider funding this application. It has nothing to do with your property. It has nothing to do with easements. It is simply a letter saying that, in theory, as you were saying, you've enjoyed the Vine Trail before. You've been on it. You're planning on using it to go to Calistoga or bike up to Brasswood, in 2 months. If you think that you'll use the Vine Trail at some point, that's what it's saying we're asking you to do, is just believe in the Vine Trail and show what support you find is appropriate and sign. If it's only those verifications, that's fine, but the letter is it's not political, it's not binding in any way. It is simply a statement of what you believe in as far as active transportation and safety.
And that's the letter you say you have 96% signage on?
Yes.
Okay.
Sean, you provided me a letter that's different than that one. This one talks about a non-binding letter of intent.
That was just a simple one.
Okay, so
because
this
in
is
the
not what
past
you're
we had
asking
talked
for.
about the
Okay.
2018 letter, and so that's what was signed in 2018.
Right.
And so I didn't, but we sent this in the email to you because of this kind of issue, and so we didn't want to. We just wanted to continue to have a conversation with everybody. We wanted to make sure you were informed. We understand that there was a lot of communication that didn't happen between 2018 and 2022, partly because we didn't get funding, number one, but partly we were building the trail in Calistoga and St. Helena, and we're building a trail in Vallejo to American Canyon, and both projects are going to open in August. And so now that we have funding to go through engineering, we're readdressing you in 2022 and in 2024. We want this to be a dialogue. You're going to get sick and tired of me coming. I want to be here every other month to talk to you about how the plans are progressing. This is a partnership that we want to do together to benefit your 1,500 students and make the environment and surrounding more safe for them and protect them. We feel the same way. So, we're not going to do anything that harms you. We're going to try to improve the environment around the schools and make sure that is aesthetically pleasing as well as safe.
Thank you.
So I guess just where I am kind of uncomfortable with that form letter.
Okay.
Just for just my own purposes of reading it, because I can't say that I'm hearing that we as a district have this glowing support, but I do support the letter that's going to get the funding for the grant, that this is our demographics. And it sounds like then if there's an August time to be more comfortable with plans and things like that, or do we have time to work on a letter before Monday that meets
Well, I
the
think
needs?
that's kind of, it's that staff capacity, and I don't
Okay,
know about
so-
that. But you can make a motion, and because the motion would be to approve the letter of support for Napa County's application for ATP funds for the Napa Valley Vine Trail, Yountville to St. Helena Gap closure as presented. You can make that motion. You can make a modified motion.
I have to read that.
Okay, so that's okay.
And that's a sample letter. Obviously, there's language in there that needs to be adjusted for the perspective of our district.
Yeah.
So what is protocol then, President Pelosi? If we say, let's do a modified letter, putting in some other verbiage, do we need to meet again to approve that? How?
Well, we
how
would give
that
direction
happen?
to staff of what we would like included in that letter of support.
Okay.
That's what you would, and you would make a modified motion that's, that would state just that. You would like a modified letter of support that would include these things for our review before it goes out, and to include the verification of the schools in the zones. That's one way to make a motion.
Okay.
You can make the motion as written on our agenda. Those are pretty much your options.
So I guess kind of moving forward, so tonight you're asking us to sign this letter of support here, but then so what is the next phase of it for us as far as the challenges at the co-op, kind of
So the next steps, so the ATP grant is very separate from the next steps. So I just want to make that clear. This is just a non-political letter of support and signing off the endorsement of the 5 schools in your district. The next step for the larger partnership would start with me getting the easement language and all of the insurance information to your team. It would also involve either inviting you to the EIR meeting to participate, that's the environmental improvement plan, or for you, environmental impact plan report, or have me come back and I'll present that information, or have one of our engineers and environmentalists come back and present. We've already had our surveyors walk property, but we'd be happy to do that again with the high school. We could chalk things out. We could flag things again on the property. And then by probably the 18th of August, when we have our another round of community meetings, we could come back to the school board and do a private presentation of what the 65% plans are. I will absolutely turn those around to you as soon as we have them so that you have copies. I do that with all 47. Actually, I do them with 55 because there are others that are we're not asking for easements, but they're in the alignment, so we want to involve them. So I will send those out so that you have copies of that, and then we'll have individual meetings. If you want to meet on site, we'll meet you on site. We'll bring engineers to meet you on site and walk through what those engineering plans are and make sure that you feel comfortable with them. Make adjustments to the easement alignments if necessary, and then start to begin your attorney talking to the county attorney and to make sure that all of the language that you want in the agreement is completed. And that process will start in August and probably go for about 4 or 5 months until it's agreed upon, and it would be filed but not recorded. It would just be filed, and then we would wait till SEPA and NEPA are approved by Caltrans, and those are the federal and state environmental reports. Those would be approved, and we would have all 47 landowners who have signed those easements, and then we would record those, and then we would be ready to go to bid for construction. And that's not going to happen for another 1.5 years probably.
So it sounds like the fencing and the possible light that's going to be in Rutherford and things, those are things that will be starting to be mitigated then, starting in August with kind of civil drawings and things?
We've already started the civil. So what you see here is just the alignment. The surveys, the environmental and the cultural studies have all been done, and that has allowed the engineers to do the alignment verifications. I think Lisa also has some samples of what the plots look like for the easements, which are more specific about how much square footage we are requesting and where it comes in line with your property. And so we can do those adjustments, and we'll continue to work with you and add those things as you need them in the plans. And so if we are able to meet before, you know, the 65% gets submitted, we can include some of those in advance. But then we have another round before we even get to 100%. So, and that's the process, is continuing to have the conversations to make sure that everybody is in agreement and that we're covering everything that you want to see covered, so that you feel that the students are safe and protected, that aesthetically it meets what you want to see for the schools, and that it achieves the goals that you have for student safety and for access, you know, for the students, and that it meets with the administration's views as well. And this is going to be an ongoing conversation for probably 16 months.
Can I just ask 2 questions? So at our last Zoom meeting, it sounded like you guys already had the indemnification letter ready to go. It's just a matter of getting it to me. Is that something you can do sooner rather than later?
The indemnification, it's not a separate letter. It's actually all part of the easement. So the indemnification letter is inside the easement agreement, and what it states first is the state code that protects you when you make a donation for recreational use. The state, which is why we apply for this grant, is firmly supportive of active transportation, and so it first ensures that no activity that happens on the trail that you can be sued for. So it completely erases any risk with just the state coverage. Then,
right. And I think that's why when we met via Zoom, it was critical that you guys, you know, had emailed me a copy of that, and I was expecting that, and I never got that. So I think that would have helped me in, you know, providing the district with some direction or some additional information,
I'm
even
sorry
passing
that
that
did not
on
get
to
to
our you know, property insurance carrier. And then my second question is, so who is responsible for maintaining the vine trail and the grounds?
well, that's a great question. There is I think, Ruben, you have a copy. I think, Lisa, I may have sent you a copy as well, the full PowerPoint presentation for landowners. In that PowerPoint, it actually gives the easement and indemnification language, just so you know, and it also includes all the maintenance details. We, as the coalition, have committed to the county and to the city of St. Helena that we will pay 50% of the maintenance for the trail from private philanthropy, and that the county or the jurisdiction pays for the other half. And so at this stage, it costs us to keep it at world-class status, $15,000 a mile, to maintain the trail without weeds and leaves, graffiti, and all of that. There's a detailed checklist of what's done. It's mowed every week, leaves are blown every week, graffiti is removed within 48 hours. It's a very detailed, specific plan, and we have a funding agreement with the city of St. Helena that they've agreed to those requirements, and we'll be starting that plan when the new mile opens up north. And so they will assume the responsibility of that plan through to the high school, and then the county will assume the responsibility of the maintenance through the co-op. And in this case, we have an agreement. The third party is the open space district, and that's been a great opportunity to keep a staff full-time at the open space district outside of summer, and so they will continue to maintain the 5 miles in the county jurisdiction up north, and then eventually, probably in 2027 or 28, would start the maintenance in the county at that point. And it's been a wonderful partnership that we've had with the city of Napa doing that, and we're excited about extending this and creating jobs with the open space district to do maintenance.
Go ahead.
I would be willing to make a proposition is not the right
No,
word.
modified.
It's not coming to me.
You're going to call it a modified.
Thank you.
Modified motion.
Brain wasn't working there. If it included a statement, something to the effect of, while the St. Helena Unified School District is in full support of the Napa Valley Wine Trail, we recognize that we need to review any or all changes that could affect any of our school sites before offering a full commitment. I'd need something like that. I would make a motion to have a modified letter. Because I think we all agree we support the trail. And I don't want to be that NIMBY person, not in my backyard.
No, that's
but
not what
I want
that's
to make
about.
sure before we
Right.
we go 100% that we know
Right.
everything's
because
the way we want
Rutherford
it.
other property owners and residents have a lot of concerns about
Right.
the project overall, not just the co-op. There are a lot of concerns with the residents in Rutherford. So
Well, but I'll just add to that though. We, in partnership with one of our letters of support from the grape growers, they're actually one of our founders. We did the entire building design with the grape growers so that the vine trail could be adjacent to the grape growers' new building and be comfortable within CAL FIRE. We are still working with Inglenook because of the new signal lights and Napa Forward, changing it from, a roundabout to other options. And so the signal light looks like it's going to happen. So, we are continuing to work with that, but we have the support of the grape growers and Constellation and
So, Jeannie, how are you feeling about that motion? Because you have more experience.
I feel okay with that because I don't feel like it's committing us to anything at this point. Is that correct?
no, it's not.
Okay. And that we did receive a public comment of one of our community members mentioning that having it kind of a qualified. So maybe you're saying this modified to be kind of qualified, because I would like to add something in the sense of where that there are several things that we still are working on, type of a thing.
Sure.
Is that?
I mean,
there's
that's
just so many
exactly
unknowns.
what
Yeah,
the process is all about. It's exactly what the process is all about. Is we're willing to work with the Vine Trail to ensure that the safety and access for our students is completely covered. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, I would be comfortable with that.
okay, so that's the motion right there.
Yes.
She needs a second. One of you.
I'll second.
That motion also includes the verification of the verification of the schools and the zones. I think that's important because that's just a factual document. So I think that's something that we should do. So we have a first, Erica, you got that, a second, and now you can conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
Trustee President Pelosi?
No. Okay. So with that, then we're going to ask you if you could work on some language, and then you
I'll
can.
have a draft to you all tomorrow.
Okay.
And so part of this is just as I am concerned about the concerns that has been presented to us.
And if-
I'm very concerned about that, and I hope that we can work together in order
Yeah, absolutely.
to mitigate some of these and resolve these issues.
If you would like to send those to me, I'll be happy to answer them and send them back to you. From all of our community meetings that we had in January, the questions that were posed, we now have them on our website with all the answers from the engineers. We can send you that information. We keep the site or route updates up to date, and we'll continue with that communication through the website. But we're also, now that we're moving into the engineering portion, we'll be doing a kind of a owner's mailing list to keep you even more informed. To be honest, I'd rather just have an agenda with you at each meeting, because I think there'll be regular updates, and I
Okay.
could probably do it in a few minutes.
Okay.
And I think the more that we see each other, the more engaged we'll be.
Yeah,
Okay,
I would agree
okay.
with that. But August 8th is our next meeting, and so you probably won't have the more of the civil plans done till later on,
Well, what I
right?
could do, I can't promise anything. I'll definitely get you the easement information tomorrow. But I could ask them to accelerate that section or get you some
I think
more
that,
plans.
yeah, the co-op is the bigger, the Rutherford section is what is concerning to the board.
Yes.
So I don't think there's much concern around the high school, Sean, to be very honest. It sounds like it's more because it's just a major traffic issue going on down there too. So there are bigger issues. And
We'll
then
get you I can definitely, probably in the next 2 weeks even, get you better renderings of what A and B might look like, so that you can really see. In those illustrations I gave you, I wanted people to see, what the concepts of Main Street will look like. The 10-foot wide sidewalks, that's what Main Street and the high school areas will look like. I don't have a rendering in front of the co-op, and I was hoping to have that in time, but I do have illustrations of what the bike boulevard will look like on Adams and Oak for you to view, but I'll get renderings very soon and make sure that you have those, so it gives you a better concept. It's very hard to visualize when, this is all new. Trust me, I was in healthcare 2.5 years ago. Did not imagine I would be learning about construction and building a trail, but I couldn't be happier. So I will take you on my journey, and we'll learn together.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
And
and-
then, sorry, just to make sure that we follow up as well, that our insurance gets the answers to their questions that they've asked. And then if that means with Dr. Vang walking it, maybe with even a trustee as well, but whatever, that needs to happen as well. So, were you going to say something
I was
else?
going to say also, if you could also, and you actually know what, I think that Ms. Kelly has shared, kind of her thoughts about, kind of her concerns. So I believe that they're similar to what I've received as well. The list of just wanting drawings, and do you want me to read the list that I've got?
Sure. Is it the list that
I think
Maureen
it's
sent me,
similar
or
to
is it
what
different?
Maureen has sent to you.
Yeah, I responded. What's that? Yeah, okay, I've responded to Maureen. I actually I'm prepared to answer those questions
no,
if you
that's
want.
No,
fine.
not
No,
right
that's
now,
fine.
because
That's fine.
we've already
No,
taken the
no, we
motion
gotta
and
get
we're going to
going
do
here.
that.
Yeah.
So,
And then also to please keep Maureen in the loop too, as well
Oh,
as
sure.
things that
yeah.
are happening.
Absolutely. I consider her one of the landowners. So,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I'll put the principal of the high school on the list. I
Yeah,
think they
that
should
would
be
be
very
great.
engaged. Absolutely.
okay.
Okay. And Superintendent Aurelia, could you send out that letter to all of us before it's sent out, please?
And then Lisa, in the transition with Ruben, I'll put you kind of as point person until we can maybe set up a new meeting with the new superintendent.
We will, yes, we actually have an interim that's going to be working with us as well, so.
Okay.
But yeah, that would be great, Sean, thank you very much. Thanks for answering all our questions and taking the time with us tonight.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Well, unfortunately, Maureen, public comment is closed on that, and I can't, if I do that, I'm violating. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I agree. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you for everybody's time and input on that. I appreciate that. There we go. That's something there. Okay. Thank you again. Okay, thank you. All right, item 9B is the wellness policy for the 2023-2024 annual progress report. Trustees, this is a written report that was provided for us. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? No?
No questions, I'm sorry.
No? Okay. I just want to, I do want to give a shout out to the district, because when you read that report, there's a lot of great things going on, and we're very fortunate to be able to offer all that we do. So I think it's,
Thank you, President Pelosi. That's absolutely true.
Yeah.
Absolutely. When I was reading that, it's just we have wonderful things going on.
Yeah, and to keep up the great work as we go into next school year as well.
Yeah.
So, thank you. Item 9C is the review of the superintendent's subcommittees. Mr. Aurelio, please.
Great. So annually, the governing board with the superintendent make adjustments to the subcommittees assignments. And for the school year 24-25, we have the following committees that need trustees assigned to them.
Okay.
We'll be establishing an ad hoc field trip committee. That would be one trustee needed. I'm just going to go quickly down the list.
Yeah.
Board policies, typically it's the board president that sits on that one. Business operations, we ask for 2 trustees. The Monrovia Group community meeting, that is typically 1 trustee and typically the board president. There's a county representative, that's been 1 trustee. LCAP steering committee has 2 trustees needed. There is not a need for a school calendar committee in this upcoming school year because that's been settled for 3 years. The student discipline committee will be discontinued. It wasn't an ad
Ad
hoc
hoc, right.
committee that came to an end, and then student equity and belonging would need 2 trustees.
Right.
Those are our current standing subcommittees.
Okay.
And obviously, we're going through a transition with superintendent, so if there's anything additional,
Right.
there might be an opportunity to do that with your new superintendent,
Right.
unless the board is looking at different options.
Okay, thank you so much. On that, I do know that Trustee Simon has offered to be on the Board Policy Committee. Oh my gosh, she told me the other one, and it may be Monrovia. But hold on, I'm going to have to just quickly verify that, and I will. So why I'm doing that, trustees, I'm happy to stay on board policy as well, to go unless somebody has, but it does usually, and that would be the president and vice president on that committee, and maybe that makes the most sense for right now. If we have a change in leadership, which on the board, which we most likely will in December, then we may have to do some swapping of committees at that point. But so let's see. Trustee Wolf, what, do you have some interest in doing some moving?
Well, I would stay on the business because I feel like I'm learning a lot and just for continuity.
Sure.
So I would be happy to stay that if Kay will have me. And I mean, I'd be happy on LCAP, or I think that's about all we have right now, right?
Yeah, you haven't done the LCAP yet?
Not as a board member. I
Okay.
did it as a parent years and
Okay.
years ago.
Okay, that would be great. Why don't you
Okay.
do that? Okay. Trustee Kerr?
I'm happy with anything, so if you want to go around first, I'll
Okay.
take whatever is.
Because you've already done the gamut, is what?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, Trustee Mora?
I have also been on all of them.
Okay.
Not always as a trustee. So
Okay.
I would have continuity either way.
Okay,
If you need
not
to
a
move
problem.
me, totally fine.
Trustee Kerr, did you not express interest to being on that field trip, the ad
Oh,
hoc?
yes, because we haven't met yet, so yes, I'll continue
Okay.
on that.
So why don't you
Yes.
do that?
Yes,
Um,
and I'm happy to stay on as a county representative.
Okay, thank you so much.
Because I'm still on the Treasury committee too.
Okay.
So that's kind of a county position. And I am on the LCAPs. No, I'm on the student equity and belonging. I'm happy to switch off if somebody else would like that.
Okay. I'm happy to go on student equity and belonging. I haven't been on that one in a while, so I'd be happy to do that. So that puts me on that and board policies, correct? Okay.
And Monrovia,
Well, I think,
or you were thinking Simon?
yeah, I think Trustee Simon said she would take that. So that has, what's our breakdown, Miss Magical, right now? Where are we? We have
We
two.
still need another member on the business operations to join Trustee Wolf.
Okay.
And then for on LCAP, we need Trustee Wolf also.
Okay.
And then student equity.
Okay. So Sean, you will have to probably do a little repetitive committee work here.
Totally fine.
So
Whatever
you want to
works.
take, you want to pick two of those?
Staying where I am or moving? I really don't care.
But you need to
I
make a
need
decision, please.
Okay, so now we have 2 people on equity, so I need to
We need
pick.
business.
I will do business and LCAP.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else, Miss Magical? Did you get a complete?
We need one more for equity.
I'll do the equity.
Okay,
I'll remain on the equity.
okay.
No, that's okay. I'm happy.
All right, are we covered?
It looks good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Great, thank
Thank
you.
you, trustees. Okay, item 9D is the review of the governing board annual self-assessment for June of 2024. Trustees, as we've done in the past, well, first, let me say, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay, trustees, as we've done in the past is, rather than taking the time to go through every single thing, it's usually been beneficial to focus on maybe a couple where we didn't get the highest mark, if you will. Is everybody comfortable with that method as well? Okay, so if we look at that, on the 2024, if you go through it, I would say, most of our, a good close to like 94% is in the green. So I wouldn't focus on that. I think the very common one that always comes up yellow, and it's probably come up yellow since the entire time I've been on the board, is item 57. The board advocates on behalf of students in public education at the local, state, and federal levels. And most of the time, what we have found in sitting at this and talking this through is that trustees just don't know if we're doing that and how we're doing it, if we're even doing that at all. And maybe that's not the question this time around, but it's usually, what does that look like? And if we're doing something, what are we doing? And
So for me, it was that I don't see how we are advocating at the federal level.
right,
I know we do it locally and at the state.
okay,
So I just don't feel like we're ever going to get out of yellow unless we are
At a federal-
level, and
correct.
I don't know.
And I think on a federal level, that's going to be like a major act about public education that we're going to either endorse, something like that. I can't think of another example off the top of my head, but
Yeah, no, I think there is the CSB event where they send
Right.
people out
Yeah.
to Washington D.C. to lobby to.
I'm okay being in the yellow.
okay.
Let me
Is
put it
everybody-
that way.
It is, and we've been in the yellow on that one for quite some time, so I mean,
And on the state level, and just as I know as examples, our district, like Napa Valley Unified, was supporting and endorsing an assembly bill with local government to try to make some changes to policy. And that's something, if there was ever a policy that this board was interested in and advocated for.
We just did that recently, I believe, when we attended the SF squared.
correct,
So we have
So
right,
participated at the state level.
right, exactly.
With transitional kindergarten.
Yes, exactly. So with that, trustees, because we're either green or blue, and I'm happy to discuss if there's anything in particular you would like to discuss on the evaluation. Please feel free to do so right now. Otherwise, we can be proud of our work and continue to work forward.
The only area I wanted to talk to was page 5 and accountability.
Okay.
I just, for the number 48 and 49, I
Okay.
just would really like to see us raise our ability to be monitoring student progress, and then towards district goals and success indicators.
Okay. Okay, noted. That's our homework.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Okay. Anything else, trustees? Any other items you'd like to have a conversation about?
I'm good.
Okay.
Do you need anything? When in doubt, shout it out.
Well, I think 50, let me think. 5, the board provides community leadership on educational issues. That to me was kind of vague, so I probably didn't know how to answer that. Like,
It is vague. I'll give you that because we did, and I know that in the past that's been a mark that's looked like that, if not gone down to the yellow as well. Because sometimes it could be the size of our district that we don't realize that perhaps we are providing leadership. But right here, what you're doing is providing leadership on educational issues. Sometimes it's stronger than others. Sometimes it's more impactful than others. But this is the crux of what you're going to do as a board is probably going to happen right here. Does that help a little bit?
yeah.
And I think it's, I don't, unless some other veteran staff wants to weigh in on what they think that might look in, but that's what I look at because we are not going and speaking to schools.
Right.
That's because really it's not the role of the board, to 5 members to show up and speak at a school. So it is kind of one of those, like, what are you talking about here, CSBA? But the work that we do is here.
And Lisa, I would add the work you do on the Monrovia group, which is extending out to the community and speaking about the work we're doing
Okay.
in our schools is that. Exactly.
See, and I would think about like that's community outreach, but it really is from our point, we're sharing educational issues of what's going on in our district.
And I think 21, it was the same last year because we don't all get the same information and when I answered that, it wasn't in a negative sense. It's just you as the president people come talk to you, you have more, and you obviously can't share things because
Right.
you're breaking, so I get that. I don't see how we could all say we all get the same information because I don't think it's possible.
Right. Exactly. That's a very valid point to make. Okay. Anything else? All right. Keep up the great work. Thank you for completing and taking the time to do that. Okay, item 9E is the approval of Resolution 23-2034, specifying the conduct of the election for the governing board members to be held on November 5th, 2024. Mr. Aurelio, please.
Yes, so we request the adoption of Resolution 23-24, which specifies the conduct of the election for governing board members to be held November 5th, 2024. There are 2 seats with 4-year terms that will be available for the November election. Those seats are currently held by President Pelosi and Trustee Kerr. And according to Board Policy 9220, the district shall pay the cost of printing, handling, translating, and mailing candidate statements filed pursuant to Elections Code 13307. So candidate statements should be limited to 200 words concerning how tie votes are to be handled. Board Policy 9220 states, before each election, the board shall establish whether a potential tie is to be resolved by lot or with a runoff election. In past elections, the board has elected to waive resolving tie votes by runoff election and determine the winner of the tie by drawing of lots. Again, it is recommended that the board elect to determine that a tie in the November 5th, 2024 election be decided by a drawing of lots. So we ask for adoption of this resolution.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Thank you. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? No. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the, oh, sorry.
No, I should have asked this earlier, but a drawing of lots. I don't know if I know exactly what that means. You just pick a name out of the hat? I mean,
Yeah, right.
okay,
Yeah.
that's what I thought, but I
Yeah.
thought that was too simple.
No, that's good. It's a good question. Okay, is there a motion to approve the adoption of Resolution 23-34 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I will second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote, please.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye. Motion carries. Okay, now we have item F, which is the annual report on the commitment to anti-racism for 2023-2024. Mr. Aurelio, please.
So this evening you have a written report on the commitment to the anti-racism for the 23-24 school year. This is an annual requirement of the board adopted resolution 20-20 that was adopted April 15th, 2021. So you'll find in the report examples of actions each school site and the district took to address the specific elements of the board resolution. So the way the report is written, you have the element, the whereas statement, followed up by the actions during the year. And that is the report.
Okay. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? No? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item or comments?
I guess I actually had a question on how you, this is a future, maybe how you amend or change? Because I think one of our staff trainings for next year is about bullying. So I would approve this. I guess I just don't know. We might be learning new things, so I don't know how you change these. Is that the board policy review committee?
To change the resolution?
I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess I'm getting it wrong.
Okay,
I don't know.
okay.
Sorry.
No, that's okay, because this is
yeah.
not a resolution. This is just a report.
Okay.
The report was prompted by a resolution. So
Yes, it was
changing the resolution would bring a new resolution.
Right. So, I mean, I think in reading that report, the way I interpret it is like, keep doing what you're doing.
Yes.
Whatever you learn,
It'll come in the next report.
it'll come in the next
Okay.
report. Like what
Thank you.
I think there was a section about for 24-25 school year, what they intend,
Perfect.
and again, to continue with the programs, the trainings, the methods of discipline is outlined. I would say maybe the only thing that it's in there, but maybe there needs to be a parent education component and speakers for them. Maybe that's something for the district to consider with the school sites. That's just because, it's not the only burden of a school to handle, anti-racism behavior. And maybe it would be helpful to have parent education nights or something like that. Okay, so that was just, there's no action on that. That's just information and discussion. Okay, trustees comfortable with that? Okay, great. Item 10 is communications, board member report. So this is a written report from trustee Simon. So anybody have, I mean, if you have questions, I think you're going to have to wait till August to ask her. Okay, thank you. Okay, so on to the board president's report. I have a few things to talk about. The first is the superintendent search timeline, and I'm going to ask Ms. Madrigal to bring that up on the screen. So as you are all aware, you know where we are in the phases of the search. This is public information. It lives on our website, there as well as links to the survey. The survey closes tomorrow. It is available in both English and Spanish. And then we will, our next meeting with the search firm is June 27th. And as always, what we will do is provide an updated written report to push out to all our stakeholders on where we are after each phase. But at the point right now, the search firm is in the engagement and information assembling phase, and then it'll go into activation phase as of tomorrow, until we get into selection phase. So anyway, all information is available on the website. And if you have any questions, for those of you watching, please don't hesitate to reach out to Ms. Madrigal here at the district office. If she can't answer the questions, then we'll get you the answer. So thank you. Second thing is I want to acknowledge that at our November 5th, sorry. Thank you, Erica. I looked up and saw that I got these are the general election dates, and this is an important timeline because there are 2 seats that will open in November election. Starting July 15th is what they call the nomination period, and this is when prospective or interested candidates can what they call pull papers with the Napa County Office of Elections and file and complete the forms and file them with the office. And that starts the process of putting your name in as a candidate for the open seats that will come up. And this is also available on our district website. And the Napa County Office of Elections also is very helpful in providing information. Is there anything else, Erica, you think I need to tackle in that?
The elections office is encouraging us to let the public know that they have to schedule appointments.
Okay, thank you.
In order to do that. You
Great.
can't drop it.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, next item is I want to acknowledge an oversight that we did at our last board meeting when we had the special meeting about the facilities and the general obligation bond. The governance team, there was an error in the way the items were put on the agenda, and the way, by virtue of the fact that we didn't agendize them correctly and then we took action on them, actually made it null and void because we did not have it. So any direction we gave to staff regarding the general obligation bond is no longer valid directive. So that's no longer an issue that the district will be pursuing with a survey at this time. And then if the board chooses in perhaps 2 years' time, they can revisit the bonds issue at that time. But I wanted to be transparent about that and that we have made that adjustment. Okay, so now the fun stuff that's coming on is back in May, one of our employees received some recognition as the Association of Napa County School Administrators, the Executive Assistant of the Year, none other than Erica Madrigal. And Erica does not like when we do this, but it is important, Erica. And I hope you will allow just a little bit of time for us to do this. And we say thank you to you often because it is appropriately fitting to do so. However, gratitude and appreciation are not always enough to say thank you for all the contributions you make to positively impact St. Helena Unified, the office of the superintendent and the governing board. So I did a cute little thing and I said, E is for efficient, R is for ridiculously organized, I is for integrity, C is for capable, cheerful, and caring, A is for adaptable and awesome. Thank you for doing what you do, for going above and beyond. Thank you for being patient with us board members as we are continuous learners. We appreciate you very much, and the exciting news is that what we have known for to be a fact has now been publicly recognized. And so with that, thank you for caring about your job, your colleagues, and St. Helena Unified. It shows in everything that you do, and we're so grateful. So thank you. And trustees, if you feel free to, if you would like to chime in. Put those together. Okay. Okay, see, that's the good stuff. It's important.
I can chime in.
Okay.
Erica gets a big award for patience because these new kids on the block take a lot of work, and she has dealt with us with kindness, compassion.
Yeah.
And she probably goes home and says things about us, but she is always smiling and happy, and you don't know how much I appreciate that. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Are you guys, okay. All right, you're welcome. Yes, absolutely. Okay, and then, of course, Mr. Aurelio, tonight marks our last time together at a board meeting. And we would like to take this time to acknowledge that tonight is the last time we'll be together at a board meeting. We want to say thank you for your time and service with us these past 2 years. Your superintendency came at a time of change, and we all learned a lot together. You provided an open door atmosphere in your leadership role. You welcomed and allowed space for candid conversations, all in the name of what is best for students in St. Helena Unified. You provided time and support for onboarding new trustees, as was just also acknowledged, while you yourself were still getting familiar with the district. We wish you every happiness and success as you move into your new superintendency role. So thank you. And you get treats too. So thank you. Okay. I do believe that concludes my president's report. So now, Mr. Aurelio, your report, please.
Okay. So just for timing reasons, I did another
Yes.
written report.
Yeah.
I really like those written reports. But this is my final written report. It does include just an update on end of year activities, an update on the RLS track and field. So if anyone's driven by there recently, now it's starting to really look like a track and field, which is very exciting. We're looking at a tentative end date, end of June, first week of July. We're scheduled for a walkthrough at the end of June, which is always a good sign. But I'm not promising that, as we know. But that's something that's very exciting. It'll be really nice for this community to have that open, and definitely open before school starts again.
Absolutely.
And then finally, I want to also express my gratitude to the governing board and some former trustees who hired me, who aren't sitting up here, Julio Orguin and Maria Haig, who were instrumental in me coming to this district, and really appreciate it. I learned a lot, and I'm
Right.
looking forward to keeping in touch as you all know. This is my community too.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so item 10D is superintendent subcommittee reports. Mr. Aurelio, you again,
I'm
please.
back again. So I've attached a written report. There were only two subcommittees that met during this time frame, the LCAP Steering Committee and the Business Operations Committee. So if any of the trustees want to add anything additional around those two committee meetings, I think it's briefly captured there in the report.
Yes,
Being with us.
no problem.
And he got the memo.
Yes, and some Saints colors. Good evening, trustees and president and everybody. I don't have much to add tonight, other than I I had a chance to sit down with a search firm yesterday with the executive group, and I have to say I was really impressed. They seem like a genuine, sincere search firm that seems to have our district's interest in their best interests. So it seems to be really good. So I was impressed with them. So we walked out of that that meeting in a positive note. So I just want to acknowledge that we were included and that it went well. So yeah, thank you. Do you guys have any questions for us? Congratulations on some people. I know graduate. Yeah, this was an unusual year. Just a little side note. I think we had all total 9 students of either staff members or people aboard or people who work in the district. I think that's probably a record.
Yeah, that seems like a high number.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah.
No, I want to thank you for being a steady presence here at our meetings. I know sometimes you've been here a long time, so
Yes.
but it's great to have you here and hear from you directly. So thank you for taking the time to do that.
Yeah, and I would say overall it was a nice positive year. We didn't have any major drama with the district and the teachers. It seemed we worked things out smoothly.
Great.
So that's what I'd like to hear from my fellow members and so forth. So let's see if we can end on that good note.
That sounds like a good
Thank
way to end. Anybody else, trustees or any?
Okay.
Happy summer.
Yeah, happy summer. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, item 10F is the CSEA report to the board, and that is a written report. Oh, no, you're here.
I'm
My
here.
apologies. I'm
It's
so
okay.
sorry.
You guys can.
No, that's okay.
You guys can read it. We can get
No,
faster.
we'd much rather hear from you.
So the first thing is we want to we as the board we wanted to do like a employee spotlight that we started to do, and so I know it's up there, and so we think we started it back with the board members before I became a board. So we did like David, Rita, and Nikki, and this month was Veronica Rodriguez. So I'll just share one quick fact that she likes. What's something that people don't know about her is that she loves baseball because her son has been playing since he was 3 years old. And the best part of her job is that she really enjoys interacting with the students and sharing time with her coworkers and getting together with other staff members. So this is our employee spotlight, and we hope to continue to do this through next school year as well. I have a lot of ideas of like upping our website and just creating Instagram posts of like, I'm really cold too, so I'm shaking, just for, everyone can see and we can spotlight more of our CSEA members. And then we want to also do a warmly welcome to our new CSEA members, Joey Pelosi and Chris Bradford. Joey's the son of the board president, Ms. Pelosi, and then Joey started as a volunteer in our TK classroom and soon became a valuable member of the Santa Elena Primary School staff, and when opening became available. He is dedicated and competence as a paraprofessional is evident at the Santa Elena Primary School staff, and I had the opportunity to meet him in the barbecue that we had as our union barbecue, and it was really fun to interact and get to know him, and he's a great guy. And then Chris Bradford is our new senior maintenance specialist. He hit the ground running and has become a solid member of the Santa Elena Unified School District maintenance team. Chris's easygoing demeanor makes it easy to be approachable. With a new facilities director, we look forward to operations running smoothly. Bless you. I just want to thank you guys, and I hope to continue coming every board meeting.
Please do. It's great to have you. You have a very positive energy, so we like that.
thank you.
And I personally like the spotlight, so hopefully you
Yes.
guys can keep that up.
Yeah, so we'll make it like, I want to make it like just a Google form and like have anyone vote. Hey, I would recommend this person, and we just like, hey, you're picked. Tell us some facts about you. And so it's just like we don't want it to seem that it's us picking it. We want the CSEA members to be like chosen like from their own their own staff. So
Great.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, items 10G, H, I, and J are the respective principals' report to the board for each the high school, middle school, elementary school, and primary school. As always, principals, we do really value those reports, so thank you so much for putting those together for us. Okay, we're going to move on to item 11A is consideration of approval for the 2024-25 LCAP plan. Mr. Heller, please.
All right. The updated version of the Local Control Accountability Plan is presented for final approval after our public hearing for community partner input in May. This plan has been reviewed by Napa County Office of Education, as well as the Napa County SELPA for additional modifications. And upon receiving approval, the final version will be forwarded to the Napa County Office of Education for final approval in July of 2024. Director of Educational Services, Veronica Miranda, will highlight some of the minor adjustments recommended by the county staff prior to the board's consideration for approval. And I'll turn it over to her.
And I did remember to turn my mic.
Good.
So when I met with the group of you, one of the things was to talk about really just the changes between the time we brought this to you in May and now. And so I'm going to say minor edits. So I'm going to say the bone or the structure of the goals and the actions continue to be the same. The financial component continues to be the same. The minor edits come from Dr. Edwards or Lucy from the county, just providing us feedback on really just trying to provide more detail. So the LCAP, the structure or the way that we're presenting it to you now has changed, the formatting, I should say, of what is required. And so it is much more broad in the sense we have fewer goals, just as a reminder, a summary. So we have 3 goals that focus around our areas of academics, the welcoming environment, and the parent engagement. So I'm giving you a summary. And in those goals, we have a total of 3 actions under goal 1, 4 actions under goal 2, and 4 actions under goal 3. The minor edits really consistent upon fleshing out the specifics on how we're going to service our unduplicated students. So the LCAP is written with the intent to be sort of almost as a strategic plan, so we can cover those 3 areas. But when the supplemental funding is there, it really asks the question, how are these actions, when they're provided to all students, but how are they really going to impact and really direct the increase of achievement for unduplicated students, being our English learners, our low income, our foster youth, and then there's our special education that aren't considered unduplicated, but are also a very special group. And then next year, we're going to add the long-term English learners or the LATELs. So really, it's about just the detail in the area. In the LCAP, it was just more about answering that question. How is this action going to increase the achievement for these areas? So that's where you're going to see the edits there. There was some adjustment also in the metrics because we had this conversation. Are we using the percentage or are we using the dashboard indicators? And just for avoid confusion, we went with just that percentage because it was easier to understand for some of those metrics. The other additions that I did was there was some specifics on a metric that Lucy wanted or NCOE wanted in a specific area, and it was just a cleanup piece of it. So I'm like, no, Lucy, we don't need that metric. For example, there was a chronic absenteeism that was kind of sitting in another area, and so I just moved it to where it belonged, which was area 2, because that addressed the conditions of learning. So those were the pieces, and then the last highlight. This is an additional piece. Is this year or for the 24-27, the LCAP is also requiring that we add specific actions for anything that's sitting in the red for either at a district level or at a site level. And so there's a couple of actions, and I'm not going to read them, but I'm just going to point out the numbers. Like 1.4 really addresses the red in the area of mathematics for one of our schools and also as a district. And also in goal 2, we have 2 specific actions for the red and suspension, which I really looked when we looked at the data. Hopefully, if nothing happened in the last month, we should be moving from red over probably to orange in some of those areas with specific actions that we put in place. And also chronic absenteeism. That is something that we as a district continue to monitor, but also as a state, as we continue to just work with our parents and our families about, returning, sending our kids to school just the recovery of COVID, on that piece of it. And so informing our parents. And I would say, just as a general, you have the report there. I feel confident that there weren't any major changes to the structure. Okay.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions on this agenda item? Okay. Thank you for making those tweaks. That percentage is a nice consistency change. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Everybody's good? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2024-25 Local Control Accountability Plan as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carried. We're gonna go through the dashboard and then we're gonna just take about a 5-7 minute comfort break. So item 11B is the presentation on the California dashboard, local indicators. Ms. Miranda again, please.
So we have the report. So I didn't do a PowerPoint for this, but this is an annual. Once again, goes in with the LCAP. So this one is really just like you did a self-evaluation. This is a self-reflection on local indicators that I have to present to the board. Really, for when I put them on the dashboard, we're really just saying I presented them to the board. So it's not a measure of how well we're doing. Are we going to run into the red on these pieces? And they're just things that we measure as a district, specifically around assigning teachers, the access to curriculum, the parent engagement component, and there's some other areas that don't belong, that really belong to the county office. One of the questions that is guiding me to bring tonight, so when you see this going, so Veronica, what's the difference between last year and this year if I were to highlight in yellow? And so besides, I updated the narrative, so as you know, being here just a year and learning the district, I updated the narratives in that, but when I looked at what the changes were, there was just one minor change. I left the areas of where we were sustaining or fully implemented really just the same in this year. And there was just the only one area under parent engagement that we went from a 3 or a 4. That was just the one adjustment that I made. So the next step in this, as we look at these components, and I will say this, I've already had a conversation with the new director of ed services because we were looking at, making sure that we also have, the data. If we're going to want to move, how are we going to move us over to the 5? So having that conversation up front so that we can measure for next year. But the next step is actually this week, the dashboard for the coordinators has opened for me to, after today, that I've presented them to you, that I can go ahead and input that information into that dashboard. It will not become public until the fall. So it's kind of an interesting piece on there, but I will have that already set so that it could just be reviewed, and then it will be presented to you when that dashboard becomes public as well. So any questions on that?
Thank you so much. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions on this agenda item?
Did we move from a 4 to a 5 anywhere? I just don't remember. From last year.
No, we did not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we're gonna just pause. It is 7:58. Take our, about 7 minutes, whatever, and we'll just reconvene, please. Thank you. Okay, we're going to reconvene at 8:04. Item 11C is written reports on the 2023-24 St. Helena Unified Local Control Accountability Plan Site Strategic Plans. Ooh, that's a lot to say.
That is.
This is a written report, board members. Are there any public comments on these agenda items? No. Trustees, questions about these agenda items?
I have no questions.
No question. It was maybe a request that they have more consistent format for what we're. They were just very different, so I didn't know what I'm supposed to gather from each of them being in a different format or words. So that would just be nice going forward.
Okay. I mean, you're literally talking about like a template format as well. Just so the
Maybe.
I mean,
I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, because some of them talk about alignment to our goals. Some of them don't.
Okay.
Some of them. So it would just be nice if. I guess I assumed it was a standard thing, but
Okay.
maybe not. And maybe we don't need to create conformity. That could also be great too. I'm just.
I'll just add, we've
Yeah.
done it in that way. I think we did it that way last year, so maybe that's kind of what you were expecting. And this year, we just gave it a little more creative license to just address their goals. But we can certainly come back to that and make it a little more standard and unified.
well, I think right. It's probably a discussion to have in leadership, right?
Yeah.
And see what and if the answer is that it works better for creativity, and then I think just let the board know.
Yeah.
It would be right.
That wouldn't be. One thing I would like to add is, this is the first year, I think, well, I know since I've been here in 8 years, that all the site plans had a unified goal under the professional learning communities. And that ability to have a school-wide goal and a district-wide goal, it hasn't always happened. And I'm really excited that all 4 sites embedded that as a primary goal. And also I want to take an opportunity to really thank and commend our principals on the work with the PLCs this year. They've been the leaders. This is a district initiative, but it doesn't go unnoticed that the principals have to carry the load at their sites and get the buy-in and get the support from all their staff. And I just want to commend all 3 present and 1 that's not for their work this year, and really moving that forward. And we look forward to the work that they're going to do next year.
Agree with that, because there's a lot of information, I think, for our benefit, really, because since we don't live and breathe it every day, these are really beneficial. I find it to be.
These are the hard part.
Yeah.
I totally agree. So yes, acknowledgement. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you there, Mr. Heller. Okay, we're going to move on to 11D, which is the written report on the 2024 St. Helena Unified School District, St. Helena High School Biliteracy and Golden Merit Seals. This is also a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, questions? Questions, comments?
No questions, but my comment would be for congratulations to the class of 2024.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Those numbers are still really strong. They're
Yes.
really great. I mean, you kind of look at that and thinking back to, having dual immersion kids, those numbers are holding strong. So that's really a testament to the work being done. So that's great. And the same with that was since the biliteracy. The Golden State Seal, same thing. Numbers are really nice and strong. So
Yeah.
thank you for your work on that. Okay, we'll move on to E, which is the presentation of the 2024 St. Helena Unified School District Kelvin Survey. Mrs. Miranda, please.
All right. So this is coming to you as request. You had requested this presentation, and so we want to provide you an overview of Kelvin. And I've tried to make it. There's so much we could say, but I'm going to just try to really summarize and then answer your questions. And is it over there? Perfect. So being able to give you today, what I want to do is what is Kelvin? Talk about some trends. I'm going to explain to you what dimensions are and what was covered. This heat map component that it contains, how was this data used, and the next steps. And this was a collaborative presentation put together. I asked the site principals to also provide me some feedback so that how the data is being used in the next steps was information they provided for us here. And so, okay, I was wondering, I'm like, I knew that slide was there. When I printed it out, it wasn't there. So the Calvin comes from, we participated in a grant from NCOE. And so that was part of the commitment, is that we administered this survey really through our 4th through 12th grade students. It is a school climate survey, much, some would say similar to California Healthy Kids Survey. The questions are different, but it provides that. It really also is a platform that schools can use that really helps monitor and assess those SEL or social emotional competencies, and also try to provide student voice. So in our case, we didn't use, there is a, what was the word I was going to use? Just a really quick way that kids could use it like every day to say how they're doing, just a quick check. We didn't use it in that fashion, just because we were really trying to use it to collect data overall to connect with and monitor how our students responded in the California Healthy Kids Survey. Now, in order to have consistency in our district, we went ahead, and I say we, Dr. Emery and Ms. Dana Sabin also gave it to her 3rd graders, so that way we could have at the elementary, the middle, and the high school. Those questions were crafted by them to also mirror. And so when I present the data, there's going to be like a 3rd grade component and then the 4th through 12th. There are 6 areas or 6 dimensions that were mentioned. This was also given to our staff, and staff includes the paraprofessionals, the administrators, staff, and then there was also given to teachers. So it did break apart the paraprofessionals and administrators, and then there's a teacher survey, which I'm not presenting tonight, but I provided that information for you in the appendices for you to take a look at that. I already mentioned who we gave it to, and also that it is a platform. It does have the ability to see individual and student reports, which I did make that accessible to you, but that's what makes the data actionable, is when you see how kids responded. Unlike the California Healthy Kids Survey, you can't really dig in to find out how did the student respond. With Kelvin, you can, and that could also work with our MTSS or our multi-tiers of student support to monitor that component. I have to remember here. Let's see. I might need some help. Thank you. And so when we start, it clicked. I go back to that 3rd grade. I think I clicked a little too fast. Miss Erica, can you help me? I'm gonna let you do that. I'll just tell you next. How about that? I'm gonna stop touching it. All right. Slide forward. Perfect. So this right here provides the detail of our 3rd graders, and it is super tiny, but I wrote it there. So 71 3rd graders gave this. Now, what you see here is the 2-bar. Really, the trend, when we look at the trend, is how did the students respond to some of these questions? When we gave it to it in the fall or in November, and then how did they do in April? And really, there was very similar results, even though we gave it to them 6 months later. So how they responded. I'm going to talk about the dimensions in a minute. Overall, the students responded favorably as you dig into that. Go to the next one. So for our 3rd graders, there were 2 areas or 2 dimensions that we measured. We measured that safety and connection, and we measured that emotional experience. I know we had a question about that sadness piece, and I'm going to kind of pull out some specific questions that added. But when we gave those components, there was I'm going to say that 6%, that little pink line there, and I got new glasses, so I could actually see that. You might not. So there was a little drop between when we gave it of students feeling. 82% of them said that they felt safe. That's what favorable means, and also that emotional experience. Basically, we're asking how are they feeling, how are they being treated. So 67% answered favorably on the specific questions that are in the appendices. Next, please. So this right here encompasses 658 of our students who took this. So when you look at the bars between, once again, the November and then the April, they came pretty close, that 75% favorable. So when we take all of those dimensions, 75, 3/4 of our kids are responding positively to the questions that are being asked. Next. And so when we talk about dimensions for our 4th through 12th grade students, this is the areas we measured. So we measured that cultural linguistic responsive environment. So basically that safe environment. How are they coping? What are some emotional experiences? And there's specific questions. If you had a question like, what do you mean by emotional experience? You can go to the back and you can and I can point it out to say, this is the question that we ask. Safety and connection, and then those opportunities for student voice and leadership. And so here, when you take a look at the movement, very slight movement. So that's really, there's consistency there with how the students are responding around these areas. Do we want them to be at a higher level? Yes. That instruction piece, we need to throw that out. That's really just asking the kids, do you like pizza? And it's just to kind of get them used to how to respond to the survey. Okay, that's what that one was. Okay, go to the next one, please. So this is a component that was that really just helped to take a look at our demographics, and I explained this to some of you when I met with you. So at a quick glance on the, as you're looking at this on the left-hand side, you see those areas there, and then across the top are our students' demographics. Now, because this is our survey, it really provides very granular data, actually something you wouldn't see on the California Healthy Survey, because I think in one of them there's like a group of like 4 or 5 students. I can't see it from here. But how are the students doing? So we have our ethnic group, our Black students, our low-income students, our English learners, and so you can see from how did they answer, and so really we would be able to focus, or we can focus and say, so when we take a look at opportunities for student voice, that's what that is, it's cut off. We're looking at like 45% of our Black students are saying, only half of them are saying that they feel like they have student voice, but once again, we need to look at those numbers because it's very few. We should still be keeping that in mind, but this is how that works, is being able to just at a quick glance zone in. But because we have a data and we have smaller schools, we could actually even zone in by grade level and zone in by students. So that's what this could be used for. It's just a quick little survey or a quick little overview. All right, next. So how was the data used? So I asked each of the school sites to just provide just some bullets. I've also seen this, I'm going to say this data in action specifically when I've got RLS and at the elementary school, just because I participated in a couple of meetings there. But they're using it in tandem. I think all of them are. So when we want to collect data, and this is something you asked for, when we put so much weight on the California Healthy Kids Survey, how reliable is that data? So having another data point or 2 additional data points for social emotional learning is going to be helpful. And that's for all of our school sites there. They reviews the data, and then I'm going to say all of our school sites did something with it, whether it was, just embedding it in the MTSS process to perhaps putting some activities, for example, the kindness challenge in place. All of our schools did a little piece. Now, the primary didn't administer the Calvin, but I still added, I sent it to Rebecca kind of like accidentally like, hey, everybody, please provide info. And then she's like, I'm like, oh, that's right, you didn't give it. But she still provided some pieces there, and I wanted to point that out because you might ask, like, well, what are we doing for the primary? So they use a different social emotional learning survey called the SDQ that they also help monitor. So I don't have that data up here, but I wanted to point that out. All right, next. And so here are some of the next steps to continue to implement instruction based on this feedback that we have, using this information to develop activities for their school site plans, and then really taking a look when we get our California or our CHICS survey. We already gave it, of course, in April. I still don't have that platform, but see, okay, how close did we come to that? One of the recommendations is to continue to do an SEL or a social emotional survey for next year. One of the things I told some of the board members is this one was given to us. We really didn't get a chance to really vet to say, is this the best aligned for us? So I know we want consistent data and we want to have the same platform, so we're measuring apples to apples. This might be one, and I'm going to hand it over to the sites, and also I had a conversation with Araceli to really begin to look at what is the best SEL survey. And this might be what they do next year, but I wanted to really leave it open-ended to see if this is something they chose to continue. Next slide. I think it's the end, but I wanted to highlight something. Okay, so I wanted just to point out, and it would be slide 15. Eric, if you can, slide 14. Actually, slide 12. Actually, go to slide 12. I highlighted different. Okay, it's not highlighted, but there's a question on there. Oh, I think my slides are a little different. Go to the next slide for me. and I might not do page because I think our numbers are different. But there's a question on there that says, I felt joy or happiness. This was given to our 4th through 12th grade students. Do you spot it out there? Okay, perfect. Thank you. And so I wanted to point this out because this is one that when we gave it to our 5th graders, they were low. They when they talked about just being really sad. And so we wanted to have a question about that. And so between the first time when we gave it and the second time, we have 88% of our students saying, yeah, I'm feeling, and that's exactly, they have to click on a big happy face and be able to do that. So I just wanted to point out that we used that question. We also used another question called I felt down, sad, or hopeless. And so that one was at 55%. So overall, if you recall, the sadness component we had really, really dropped. So that one's right there, one that we would want to look at individual students to price some more. So this is where our I want to say her title. So Miss Sabin, our counselor, behaviorist that helps at the elementary, and our counselors could also have this information to say, okay, if a student is answering that way, what can we do? And then what are the activities? So it helps to be able to look at that data. And so I wanted just to kind of pull out those couple of questions. And then there's questions in there, of course, for our staff and also for our teachers. All right? Any questions?
Thank you. Excuse me. Whoops, hold on one second. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? And trustees, any questions?
Thank you for that. I guess one of the things I wanted to highlight that I didn't see in the next steps that is probably, I'm assuming it's going to happen. I know Principal Cinto has always done an amazing job at taking quantitative but then drilling in on a qualitative. I know you're always getting in and talking to the students, and I talks about advisory at the, I think that was for the high school also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and having that now to be able to have these discussions, I assume maybe that's what's going to happen, but continue to always do that, because I know you've brought us so many nuggets of amazing quotes, stories that don't reflect in numbers, so that I appreciate that.
Can you remind me, when did the students take this?
They took it in November.
Right, and they take it in the course?
Yeah, they took it, for this year, I'm going to look up here. They took it in November and in April.
Right, and they just take it on their free time or is it dedicated time?
So, and the principals can speak up. So the first time we gave it, there was a little hiccup because there was this little doggy named Kelvin. So it popped up on their Chromebook. And so we opened it up for a window of time. What we were trying to do is every student at the elementary level for sure would be, we should log on and do it at the same time. But because a little puppy clicked, the kids opened their Chromebook and kind of took it sparingly. The second time we did it, we assigned a time. So at the elementary level, they picked a time that their homeroom teacher would give it out, because we gave them a link. And also at the middle and the high school, they picked I think it was maybe your English classes. Because all the kids are there, that they went ahead and administered. So it was during the school day.
Okay, great. And then on the like the teacher survey, on the appendices that you provided for us, so what staff is going to follow up on that? Or are we going to drill in on that as well?
So as far as us collecting the data, then I hand that over to the principals, okay, and they decide as far as what they want to do with that data. I didn't ask that questions,
sure,
but that would be like an next step.
Okay.
So if our teachers are answering this, how we do it. And actually, we want to be able to look at that correlation. So if there's questions on there, if the teachers feel like they're providing support to their kids, and the kids were saying, I'm just making an example, right, what is that correlation? So I would say it starts with our administrators to take a look and do that comparative analysis and see what our next steps are.
Okay, great. Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. All right. Thank you so much for that. Excuse me. Okay, now we're on item 11F, the written report on the St. Helena High School A through G completion rate. This is also a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay, trustees, questions about this agenda item? No? Okay.
I did have a question. on page 5, sorry, I don't know if you're opening it. I guess, Mr. Cinto, the question was, column was aligned, and then there's another column for misaligned. I just wanted to make sure I understood what you meant by aligned and misaligned.
Yeah, sorry, can you scroll down, Erica, please? A little further, sorry. Just, man, my vision's really bad. So there's that, it comes from that PACE document. It says A to G resource guide, insights and strategies from exemplar school districts. And within that article, it talks about specific practices from a school site or district that are aligned with A to G going rates and misaligned with A to G going, like improving A to G rates. So I kind of constructed an analysis of our school. Where are we aligned and where are we misaligned in terms of promoting more A to G going rates? Does that make sense?
So, as an example, ag mechanics pathway is misaligned. What does that mean?
Because it is not an A to G approved class.
So that's, okay.
Right. So if we wanted to increase our A to G rate, and it's something we've already done, is so currently our ornamental horticulture pathway and viticulture pathway are they're A to G approved, but they're not science lab courses. So we're actually looking into getting them approved as I think it's area D, I forget, science lab course. Right now they're considered G area elective courses. So they're A to G approved, but they don't fall within that. They count as science classes for St. Helena High, but not necessarily for CSU UC system.
Okay, yeah, because I was like, well, it
Sorry.
says it's a G elective, so how is that misaligned?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, because a lot of students use it to meet their science credit.
So is it a goal to move them to aligned?
Potentially.
Not
I mean,
all
we
of
have
them
to
you
look
can.
at, there's 9 different areas students can pursue, right? A to G is one of those areas, right? We talk a lot in this district currently and historically about the whole child. So the more emphasis we put in one of the 9 areas that students can pursue after high school, then we're devaluing other areas. So that's just a conversation we need to kind of have internally and externally if that's the direction we want to go.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So for the same example, so for like viticulture pathways, G elective, if we were to have attach a lab to it, then would it be both a G and a D or C or whatever?
Yeah,
Would it be 2?
yeah. A lot of our
Would it be
classes
2?
count as electives. Yeah, various places. But I mean, there's a lot of work that goes into that and submitting to the College Board and all that stuff. But yeah, it's something we're actively looking into right now.
And I always appreciate the comparisons because I think that's great. And we often get compared to Tahoe Truckee, and I see that for in a lot of these categories as well. And their numbers are above 50%. So I'm not asking you to answer this, Mr. Cinto. It begs the question is like, what are they doing? What are they doing to get those kind of, now maybe they have a little bit of a higher population, so the numbers are a little bit higher, but I would ask staff to look into like, what are good practices that are happening there that maybe could happen here? I also want to ensure that, I thought there was a thing about parent participation and parent understanding, like, that is to me a big thing, like to ensure that those parents whose English is not their first language, that they understand, that we are providing some kind of bilingual support to help those parents understand, like, this is what it means if you're doing A through G and what that means for your student. And just kind of educating parents on that as well, I think is important, because we all know that kids might know that, but that information may not make it home necessarily. And if English is not your first language, it could be intimidating to maybe have that conversation as well. So,
I was going to say, I actually have 2 answers for
Okay,
you. I'm
great.
ahead of you on this one.
Okay,
So
good.
we've already planned for a to G district-wide parent night
Okay.
next year. We're actually
Great.
3/4 of the way through the PowerPoint already.
Okay.
In terms of Tahoe Truckee and in comparison to their rates, the counselors, Sean Garrity and Terry Linder and I, having conducted a transcript audit, our A to G rates are actually higher than what is captured on CalPADS. So when I went last board meeting to start to retrieve some of this data, our percentages that are reflected on oh my gosh,
DataQuest.
DataQuest, thank you, are actually lower than what's actual. So what Sean and Terry and I were going to be meeting with Michelle Happ to look at the data fields that CalPads is actually extracting from areas, because we found some inconsistencies with some of the courses that end up. So let's say a student gets a D 1 year or 1 semester in English, you're automatically discounted from A to G. Well, if they replace that through Apex or some other credit recovery vehicle, we have found a few instances, actually quite a few. Last year our percentage was captured, I want to say at 49 or 51%.
Okay.
I can't see it. And it was actually 8 or 9 percentage points higher, which is you know, 7, 8 kids. So, which is a significant difference when you look at the comparison to our most closely resembling district of Tahoe Truckee. So we're pretty much on par.
Okay, great. And I know Mr. Riley, you and I had once talked about like, I'm not saying that this is the solution, but we had a conversation about something like 10,000 degrees coming in that help those families that maybe to help give them the extra support that they in that kind of, and I'm not professing that I know the answer of that, but I just think maybe it's worth maybe further conversation as staff, working with the high school, supporting the high school. I mean, you know, just kind of keeping a good monitor on it. It seems this has a little bit of legs in the community. Let me just put it that way. So I just think that if staff is, you know, monitoring it, working with Mr. Cinto and the staff, and making sure that they have what they need that better serve all our students, I think that's kind of what I'm after. Does that make sense?
We also reached out to 10,000 Degrees
Great.
because there was a time at which they were a free service provider to local school districts, and that unfortunately was no longer the case.
Oh, okay.
They had reached capacity supposedly within, I think, you're aware of that.
Okay.
I was working with Anna Chateau as well, but it's no longer a free service.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, that's not necessarily, but that's worth maybe following up, because coincidentally, I ran into a board member on a vacation very randomly, and all of a sudden she's like, you're from St. Helena. I sit on the board of 10,000 Degrees.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, we've been trying to have conversations. I'm not saying that anybody's thwarted those discussions. I'm just saying that they were interested in working with us, but I see your point that if it's not, but maybe just, you know, as a exploration, keep an eye on it just to see, and, you know, making sure that the students and their parents know the importance of it, if that's the, you know, for that path. I feel like I really said too many words and all that.
I would also
thank you.
just share for those of you that don't have a high schooler, this is the first year where I've seen in the daily bulletin for a long time, hey kids, you know, sign up for Apex credit recovery for your A to G requirements.
great.
So that was a great addition.
Yeah, and we're still doing that as part of the A to G improvement grant, because normally we've only been able to do credit recovery for non-math and science courses, but through that allocation we're able to fully fund outside Apex courses that are beyond history and English. So.
But thank you, Mr. Cinto, for that presentation, because it was really informative. There's a lot of data in there, so thank you. Anything else?
I do have one question. This is kind of a Sean question, actually. On the 7 years of comparative school data, I'm assuming it means white and Hispanic, the W and the H. Am I following that right? Why are Truckee Tahoe numbers like 69% white, 51% Hispanic? Now, I'm not real good at math, but somehow... How what is that like?
It's the percentage that have met A to G.
Yeah.
For their category. So you don't add them together.
Oh, in my mind I was thinking their school population, like this percent was white. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, now Human Resources, 12A, approval of the employment contract for the interim superintendent. This is but Mr. Heller, you're going to help me with this, or Dr. Vang? Yeah. Dr. Vang, sorry.
Thank you, President Pelosi. This agenda item includes the contract for the interim superintendent, Mr. George Keller McDonald, who is actually here with us and present today. He will be joining the St. Helena team effective July 1st, which is the new fiscal year, the new school year for us. I've worked with our legal counsel to vet this contract, so I'm bringing it forth for to the board for approval, please.
Thank you. Okay, well, is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, questions about this agenda item? No. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the interim superintendent contract for George Keller McDonald as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf,
He wore a Hawaiian lace, so I'm going to go with aye.
Trustee Kerr,
Aye.
Trustee Mora,
Welcome back. Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carried. Mr. McDonald, would you like to come up and say hello at the podium and introduce yourself?
Well, I'd love to.
I meant to say welcome back to board meetings.
Yeah, it's like riding a bike,
Yeah.
getting back to a board meeting. It's it's a great pleasure, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with the administrative team, with the teachers, the support staff, the community, as we prepare for the new school year, which will be here before we know it, and try to maintain the continuity of quality and outstanding achievement that this district is well known for. And it's, I'll use the word exciting again. It's really, really neat to start to meet people, and I look forward to getting to know the community better and continuing to communicate and support the school team, as well as continue to get to know and connect the school and the community. So, and I will say, my first name is George, but I don't recognize it. So if somebody calls me George, I know they don't know me well. So I go by Keller.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and thank you very much for being here. Okay, item 12B is review and consider approval of a revised contract for Christopher James Heller, Assistant Superintendent. Mr. Aurelio, please.
Well, good evening again. So this is a request to approve the revised contract for Assistant Superintendent Mr. Christopher J. Heller. This is a consolidation of the 12 amendments from the previous contract. They've been combined, and it is a new 3-year contract. It's been reviewed by legal counsel. We've made some clarification on how we are noting work year, vacation days, and holiday calculation, and I'm requesting the additional year there, so going from a 2-year contract that he has remaining to a 3-year contract.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, questions about this agenda item?
No questions.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve a revised contract with Christopher James Heller as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf,
Aye.
Trustee Kerr,
Aye.
Trustee Mora,
Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carries. Item 12C is review and consider approval of a revised contract for Kay Vang, Chief Business Official. Mr. Aurelio again, please.
Yeah, so for our chief business official, Dr. Kay Vang, we are asking to do an amendment to our contract, adding an additional year, also clarifying some of the language around work year, vacation days, and holidays.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve a revised contract with Kay Vang as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf,
Aye.
Trustee Kerr,
Aye.
Trustee Mora,
Aye.
President Pelosi.
Aye, motion carries. Item D, review and consider approval of a revised executive management salary schedule for 2024-25. Mr. Aurelio?
All right, so item 12D is an update to the executive management salary schedule. There is no change to the assistant superintendent steps. However, we've extended the CBO salary steps from 2 steps, which was most previously adopted, to 8 steps to mirror the salary schedule for the assistant superintendent and other managers. The salary schedule mirrors the same % increases from step to step like the assistant superintendent.
Okay. And I see it becomes effective July 1. Okay.
Correct.
All right, thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the revised executive management salary schedule as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carries. 12E is a consideration of approval for consent to teach for the 2023-24 summer school year. Mr. Heller, please.
Yes, so we're asking for this consent to teach this evening for Kate Bredhauer, who is currently teaching math at our middle school program, and Kate possesses an RSP credential, but does have enough credits to be approved for a consent to teach, and so we would ask for the governing board's approval.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consents to teach for the 2023-2024 school year as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, on to facilities. Item 13A is the St. Helena Unified School District's aquatic program for 2024. This is a written report. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Okay. Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
No, thank you.
No.
I just want to make a comment and just to thank everybody who worked together with city, Waves, district to make, there's expanded opportunities for the community, and there is wonderful feedback circulating out there about, feeling heard, feeling that making the pool more available. So I just want to acknowledge the collaboration and the work that everybody came together to do that for the community. And the lifeguard training is an awesome thing, because having more lifeguards is actually what's going to, this is the cart and the horse scenario. We need lifeguards. So this is a really great opportunity. So spread the word on that. So
Started today. I saw them.
yeah, that's great. So thank you very much on that.
I want to also mention that I was listening to the city council meeting yesterday, and David, I believe his name, David Johns, the recreation director, he also announced something at the city council meeting and was very happy with the results and how much we've been able to expand as partners, been able to expand the pool hours and things too.
Yeah.
So it was all huzzahs.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of positive feedback circulating, so that's great. Okay, thank you. Next is 13B, approval of delegation of authority to award district-wide solar PV PPA. Dr. Vang, please.
Thank you. So as you all know, we've been working on getting a solar project up and running. We've just received all of our bids as of yesterday. And being that today is our last board meeting until August, the district is asking that the board approve the delegation of authority to award the actual project to district staff so that we can proceed to ensure that we are meeting deadlines. We do have a meeting next Tuesday to review all of the proposals, and I've invited a couple of members from the Business Operations Committee, including the two trustees who sit on the committee, to join us. So hopefully we'll get some folks to participate next Tuesday, including some other community members who are in the committee, on the committee. So that's next Tuesday. But what I'm bringing forth today is an ask for the board to approve delegating authority to award the PPA project to staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
I have a quick question. So, Dr. Vang, about the meeting on Tuesday, is that to review those that have submitted, and then you'll choose as a team which one? Does it necessarily have to be the lowest bid then? with this?
No, we're not looking for the lowest bid. We're looking for the bid that's meeting our qualifications. And so we've got, I believe, 4 or 5 submittals that we'll be reviewing.
Okay. Okay. And then as a team, you'll do that, and then someone will make
Yes.
the decision on that?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And once the decision's made, I'll bring that forth and share, who the contractor is that we've awarded the project to.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That was going to be my follow-up question, so, okay. Anybody else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the delegation of authority to award district-wide solar PV PPA as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, business operations 14A is review and consider approval of the 2024-25 original budget. Dr. Vang, please.
Thank you. At our last board meeting, we had a public hearing, and today this is our final original budget for next school year. There aren't any material or significant changes from public hearing to today's board adoption. As you may know, the governor has passed his May revision, and it doesn't look pretty for state funds. However, we are, a community-funded district. In my presentation, I did include, I highlighted the differences in red so that you can see the differences between when I presented this for the public hearing now to the adoption hearing. And one of those changes is, for example, the COLA for next year at public hearing was 0.76%. May revisions 1.07. However, in full transparency, I did not make that change in our budget for next year because it doesn't have a huge impact on us as a community funded district, and everything else for the most part remains the same. You'll notice on, Erica, can you keep scrolling? There is one slide that I do want to point out. Okay, this slide right here, thank you. You'll notice that at public hearing, for the multi-year projection, if you look at the ending fund balance at the public hearing versus the fund balance at adoption, it's slightly different, and that's due to the fact that between public hearing and adoption, business is continuing as is, and as we continue to make budget revisions right now, that does impact the ending fund balance for this year, which will then become next year's beginning fund balance. So nothing material, but in full transparency, I do need to share that with the board and the public. Thank you.
Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, questions about this agenda item?
I just have a statement, I guess, that for me, when I look at the out years of 3 years of red, I guess I would like for us to be able to work on not having red. That's just a statement, I guess. I don't know what else to say.
It's a financial responsibility, right? To work, and I think in conversations with Dr. Vang, we also know that hopefully, no guarantee, but in future years, depending on what the property taxes end up coming in, that maybe those reds will turn colors, or but there is going to be, but you're right, we need to work as a district to eliminate the red.
And so is that in the Business Operations Committee?
Yes, it is. And we've already started those conversations with not only staff, but also business operations, knowing that we can do some things, we just can't do all things. And we have to really work on prioritizing what those things are that we will do, right? So it's about everyone working together and understanding the the budget so that way everyone can do their part. One of the things I started doing this year that I will continue to do is my budget roadshows, going out to the sites and helping them understand the budget. I think that's important because until staff, understand the budget, it's hard to do their part, right? If this isn't presented to them in a way that they understand it and they can then be part of the solution. And I know that when we've been out there, we've reiterated we can do some things, we just can't do all things. So we have to all work together on prioritizing what those things are.
That's right.
As they should be aligned to our district goals.
Correct. And thank you for doing those road shows. I think those are educational for everybody. So
Yes, thank you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, and yes, thank you for doing that. And I'm wondering if there's any way that you could include our facility needs within the budget. Yeah, or not within the budget, but on kind of asides, so people know what our facility needs are looking at right now.
You mean in the road shows? Is that what you're referring to?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. Okay. Do you need a cape and a hat to take that road show out on the road? Sorry, it's getting late, so that's just kind of. All right, thank you. Let me wait. Hold on, we have something to do with that. See, is there a motion to approve the 2024, 2025? Hold on one second. Do I have the right thing? Yes. Original budget as presented.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carries. Thank you. 14B is contracts over $25,000 for June 2024. Dr. Vang, please.
Thank you, President Pelosi. So most of these contracts that I'm bringing forth tonight are renewal contracts. They are contracts with current partners or vendors, and we've been working with these local partners, vendors, and we are asking for a renewal contract with many of them. For example, one of them is Up Valley Family Centers. You can see that we are getting the same rates. Our partners have been really good to us, especially, for example, Up Valley Family Centers. They have not increased our hourly rate. We're paying the same rates that we've been paying for the last couple of years. In addition to what, we're receiving, if you look at the contract closely, you also notice that we're also receiving at least, over $100,000 in-kind services. So I believe that, in reviewing these contracts, we have some strong collaborative partners, and the district would like to continue these partnerships. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any public comment on this agenda item? Trustees, any questions about this agenda item?
Quick question. I saw the Boys and Girls Club MOU. Is everything happy and cohesive with Boys and Girls Club? Wasn't there some little bit of angst over whether they wanted to keep on our campus? A little, or is that not something to approach? I mean, it looks like we're all in good shape now.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
No, we've worked through some of the issues that were presented and had some really good conversations about next steps, and so our relationship is as strong as ever. So we're very
Great.
good spot.
Great. Thank
And
you.
are we maybe feeling confident that we'll be back up to full operating force maybe by the school year, the new school year? The building? No? No. Okay, I was being hopeful. Okay.
We've got partial occupancy, as you already know, but the entire building in itself, that's going to take some time. But we're working through that process as quickly as we can, and we're kind of at DSA's mercy at this point.
As usual. Yeah.
I was going to ask more questions, but it's not the agenda item.
Okay. And trustees, as being newer trustees, just sometimes when you look at these contracts, like they're big numbers, but this is common for this time of year as we get ready to renew things. I know sometimes you look at it and you're like, wow, there's a lot, but this is the time of year that happens, just so you know. Okay. Is there a motion to approve the contracts over $25,000 as presented?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee Kerr?
Aye.
Trustee Mora?
Aye.
President Pelosi?
Aye, motion carries. Okay, 15A, future agenda items. You'll see there, June 27th is our special board meeting regarding the superintendent search. We are in recess for July of 2024. We come back August 8th, just about 11 days before school starts. And for both a special closed and a regular board meeting. And then we have a couple of, all day for interviews at the end of August. And again, these will always be, those updates on that will stay on the website. You'll see the August agenda items. I think that's probably ample to get us going off the top of the school year.
Yeah.
Did I hear us agree to Vine Trail again?
Well, we did. And
To put it as a
well,
placeholder
at least
if there's a 65%.
if she's got a significant,
So it sounds like she was going to try to prioritize.
Yeah,
I just,
so thank you
I
for-
would
thank you.
appreciate it felt very caught off guard that
Yes.
we were a holdup for a grant.
Yes.
And I don't want to do that anymore. I
Right.
guess. So.
exactly. So perhaps staff could make sure we're in communication with Sean to make sure that if she's got something to bring us in August, that would be great. Because I agree, not to be caught off guard.
But worked through all staff before it comes to us too, because it kind of just felt like we were having a working meeting, and I
Right.
don't think it was meant to be that way.
No, it probably wasn't, and
Okay.
right, exactly. Good points, thank you. Okay, thank you for that, staff. And the one thing, of course, whenever I do my board president report, as much as I write notes and I do all the things, there's always something I seem to forget. So I do want to just take a moment to acknowledge Veronica Miranda, because this is also her last meeting with us. She's moving on to pastures of being a grandma and being back with family. And we want to thank you for your time and getting to know you and being part of this district. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time to explain data to us, because that's always, something that we need to learn and understand. So thank you. We wish you all the best in your new role. Both of you are going to have 2 different roles. So, but enjoy that time with your family.
And I just want to thank you. I just want to thank you for just welcoming me. I've learned so much, and everything that I've learned isn't going to go unused, because no matter where we go, it's about kids. So I will take this, and I've learned, and I do plan to come back to visit your schools with PLC, because it's a model, and so I want to be able to show off, show off like
Great.
our partners
Well,
here. So thank you.
We wish you the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, that leads us to our favorite agenda item, 16A, adjournment.
Could I ask
Oh.
one quick
Yeah.
thing there? Back on our, I know I brought this up at our one-on-one, 2-on-2s, but I know we always have our organizational meeting in December and assign schools. I was just curious, and maybe this is in the bylaws, is that something we could discuss in August? So you start off a school year with a new school rather than December, and I didn't know if that's
No,
something
we
could
absolutely can.
discuss.
And I think the reason why it's always been in December, and this is not the first time we've had this conversation, is because then there's a shift, right? Like, I'm not currently
Sure.
assigned to school, but then I will be assigned to school. And it is interesting to come into that in December, but there's a little bit of logistics to go with it. So we'll have to put it on the agenda and talk it out, I think, a little
Okay.
bit. But it is a valid point, for sure. So.
Okay, thank you. All right,
Sure,
I'm done.
absolutely. Okay. Is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mrs. Madrigal will conduct a roll call vote.
Trustee Wolf?
Aye.
Trustee